people that issue out commands on a daily basis, and those commands have real world consequence. What have you made of the quality of leadership at the top of the SAPS, including the National Commissioner himself, even on these questions around the disbandment of the PKTT? I don't know about you. I'm always accused of, being subtle with what I believe, and I always say, I'll tell you what I believe. When it comes to the issue of the PKTT, I was never convinced by what the National Commissioner was saying. It just felt to me, when you're National Police Commissioner, that's one of those positions where you have to be of independent mind, sufficient independent mind, such that, yes, you operate within the law, but you know when to stand up and say no. I just didn't get that sense, but I digress. The issue is not really about the PKTT right now. It is about the quality of leadership and the questions that are being raised as we see National Police Commissioner Fanima Simula being summoned to appear in court in April. So you can weigh in on that conversation, but what we will do is at 7:10, we'll speak to David Bruce, independent researcher on policing, crime and the criminal justice system, as well as he's also an ISS consultant, Institute for Security Studies. That conversation coming up with David Bruce at 7:10. Then linked to these issues around crime in the country and general sense of rule of law, there's a chilling pattern that is being observed that is said to be emerging within the country's legal community, where those tasked with upholding justice are increasingly becoming targets of violence. The killing of Labour lawyer Chinette Gallican is the latest in a series of attacks that many see as a direct assault on the rule of law itself. With multiple prosecutors and attorneys killed in recent months, questions are mounting about whether the state is doing enough to protect legal professionals, and is that even feasible to protect everyone? Is that even feasible both in the public sector, as in prosecutors, as well as in the private sector, attorneys and advocates? That's one of the questions that has to be asked at this point. Is this organized intimidation, opportunistic crime, or something more systemic? And what are the implications for the functioning of the justice system if fear begins to shape legal practice? So at about 7:20 this morning, we'll speak to Don Mahon, who is senior counsel as well as chairman of the Johannesburg Society of Advocates, and reflecting on that. Some of the murders, I remember, I think it was a year or two ago, involved practitioners in the field of insolvency law. Those people who attend to the, winding up of estates, not just winding up of estates, but issues to do with insolvency in companies, the processes around business rescue practitioners and the likes. So we saw some of that, and then we saw, I think, 2 prosecutors murdered in the Eastern Cape last year. And the team at the NPA will set me straight if I'm not getting the figure correctly. But that became a feature. Now we're dealing with this situation with this Labour lawyer who was gunned down in broad daylight just outside the CCMA. It really does have that chilling effect, doesn't it? So we'll talk to Advocate Don Mahon, senior counsel, also chairperson of the Johannesburg Society of Advocates, and that's coming up at 7:20. Then lastly, we return to a story that we touched on yesterday when we spoke to the Democratic Alliance leadership in Tshwane. The battle over corruption allegations in that city quickly becoming a proxy fight over governance, credibility, and political narratives. The Democratic Alliance says it has uncovered evidence of deeply entrenched tender mafias manipulating critical municipal contracts, but the African National Congress is pushing back hard, dismissing the claims as politically motivated. At the heart of the dispute are essential services like water provision, waste management and security, where failures, we are told, have direct consequences for residents. Not that we're told, actually, they do have direct consequences for residents. The question is whether this is a genuine exposure of systemic corruption or a strategic political framing ahead of the broader electoral contests that are coming up later in the year or early next year. We'll speak to Joel Khomozo Abram Masilela Kamahlangu, the ANC Greater Tshwane regional spokesperson, and that conversation coming up at about 10 to 7. It's a right of reply of sorts, so he'll be talking to us at about 10 to 7 this morning. Your morning brief team, primed and ready, locked and loaded as always. And Musa with your news updates at the top and at the bottom of every hour. Zaikan with a full rundown of your sporting action, giving you insights both on and off the field. Rob Byrne has his eyes trained on the country's highways and byways and will be reporting to you every 20 minutes or so, making you aware of any snarl-ups on your route this morning. Melissa Puta completing your picture with her morning brief in brief. It is a sampling of some of the stories worth mentioning, but that we may not necessarily be able to give full attention this morning. Ndauleng Lechela has 3 insightful updates and on business, economics, and the markets coming up, and that's at just after 6:30, just after 7:30, and just after 8:30. And of course, Sipho Mantula will take you around the continent in his Africa update coming up at about 20 to 7 this morning. This is the morning brief. Context, consequence, and conversation starting now.
Bafana Bafana are preparing for the 2026 FIFA World Cup, which will be hosted by the United States of America, Canada, and Mexico from 11 June to 19 July 2026. Bafana Bafana will host 2 international friendlies against Panama on Friday 27 March in Durban at the Moses Mabhida Stadium at 7 p.m. and Tuesday 31 March in Cape Town at the DHL Stadium at 7:30 p.m. Tickets are available at Ticket Pro at 80 Rand for adults and 50 Rand for children under 12. For more details, visit safa.net and Bafana Bafana on X.
Think fast. Think downloads, fast streaming, fast wins. Because whether you're chasing high scores, chasing deadlines, or chasing the next episode, buffering is not part of the plan. That's why your home needs the power of OpenServe fiber. Fast, reliable Wi-Fi that keeps up with your life. Game harder, work smarter, stream without limits. And right now, when you sign up before the end of April, you'll score a free Netflix voucher. So don't wait. Level up your home connection with OpenServe fiber and feel the difference speed makes. Visit openserve.co.za today. T's and C's apply.
Thulasizwe Simelane is streaming live now on Facebook, YouTube, and X at SAFM Radio.
Hey, look what the cat hauled into studio. It is you, so early in the morning, live in studio. Good morning, Melissa.
Morning, Thulasizwe.
I have a feeling there's a mismatch in our energy. Vuga man.
I'm coming. I'm still loading.
Okay, let's get to it. The morning brief in brief. Talk to me about what the Minister of Mineral and Petroleum Resources, Gwede Mantashe, is saying about the spectre of fuel shortages in the country.
So, Gwede Mantashe has reassured South Africans that there is no need to panic about fuel shortage, despite tensions in the Middle East involving Iran, Israel, and the United States. He confirmed that supplies of petrol, diesel, paraffin, and jet fuel remain stable, with imports still passing through the Strait of Hormuz. South Africa mainly sources crude oil from African countries like Nigeria and has functioning refineries, ensuring supply is secure at least until the end of April. Meanwhile, the DA has proposed cutting fuel levies by 50% to ease the impact of sharp fuel price increases expected in April. Spokesperson Mark Berg said this could reduce fuel costs significantly, though it would cost the government billions in lost revenue. The party suggested alternative funding sources, including surplus funds from the compensation fund and other state entities, to offset the loss and protect the economy from rising inflation and financial strain on households.
Your next story comes out of the field of politics. Let's talk about the battle of narratives. I think I mentioned it briefly in the introduction, and that continues even on the other front between the ANC and the ANC and its Secretary General on the one hand, and AfriForum on the other hand. What's this about a dossier against Mbalula.
So the ANC has rejected a report by AfriForum accusing Secretary General Fikile Mbalula of corruption, calling it a politically motivated smear campaign. AfriForum's dossier submitted to the United States alleges that Mbalula benefited from a privately funded 2016 Dubai trip and urged the US to impose personal sanctions under the Global Magnitsky Act. I hope I said that right. The ANC strongly criticized AfriForum from seeking foreign intervention, describing it as an attack on South Africa's sovereignty and accusing the group of pushing anti-transformation agendas. Mbalula denied the allegations while the ANC reaffirmed its full support for him and insisted that any legal matters should be handled within South Africa's own institutions, not by foreign governments. So this is an interesting one to see how it develops.
Yeah, I saw that Fikile Mbalula was tweeting and saying, do they even know what a dossier is? So, let's see how that plays out. Part of it has to do with that trip that he took that was paid for by an entity linked to a service provider, and then he paid the money back, and then it led to all these allegations, but that's just a part of it. Let's talk about this Section 22 committee of the CRL Rights Commission. It just won't go away, this issue, will it?
Yes, sort of like a gift that keeps on giving. So tensions within South Africa's religious sector have intensified after Thoko Mkhwanazi-Xaluva, the chairperson of the CRL Rights Commission, announced a new Section 22 committee led by John Maloma yesterday. The committee will begin nationwide consultations with religious and cultural groups from mid-2026. The South African Church Defenders has strongly opposed the committee, accusing it of trying to unlawfully regulate churches and claiming there was not enough consultation. Protests we've seen have already taken place in Durban against the work of the Section 22 committee. Mkhwanazi-Xaluva rejected calls to resign and defended the process, saying that various religious organizations were consulted. She stressed that the commission will continue its work, including addressing gender-based violence in religious communities, despite criticism and legal challenges.
Yeah, it's a hot button issue, that one. If you want the lines to go crazy, raise that issue. Thank you for that, Melissa. That's Melissa Puta with the Morning Brief in brief.
Thulasizwe Simelane on SAFM.
On the weather front, there's just one impact-based warning that has come through from the Weather Service. It is a yellow level 2 warning, and it is in place over the western parts of KwaZulu-Natal, eastern and central parts of the Northern Cape, as well as the southern parts of the Free State. That yellow level 2 warning is for severe thunderstorms associated with heavy downpours that may result in localized flooding of low-lying areas, susceptible roads and bridges, as well as localized damage to infrastructure and especially informal settlements, property, vehicles, livelihood and livestock. So that is the yellow level 2 warning that is in place in those areas I just mentioned. Then there's an advisory. It is for hot and humid weather that will result in extremely uncomfortable conditions over the northeastern parts of KwaZulu-Natal. The rest of your weather will be looking like this. Pretoria, Johannesburg and Vereeniging will be partly cloudy with isolated afternoon thunder showers. Pretoria starts at a minimum of 18 and ends at a maximum of 30. Johannesburg 16 to 28, Vereeniging 17 to 28. Mbombela will be cloudy with fog in the morning, otherwise partly cloudy with scattered afternoon showers and thunder showers, 19 to 30. Polokwane will be partly cloudy with isolated afternoon showers and thunder showers, 17 to 28. Mahikeng, partly cloudy with isolated afternoon thunder showers, 16 to 29. Vryburg, partly cloudy with isolated afternoon thunder showers, 18 to 29. Bloemfontein, partly cloudy with scattered afternoon thunder showers, 15 to 25. Kimberley, cloudy with scattered afternoon showers and thunder showers, 19 to 25. Uppington, partly cloudy with scattered afternoon showers and thunder showers, 24 to 30. Cape Town will be fine in the morning, otherwise partly cloudy, 16 to 26. George will be partly cloudy, becoming fine from the afternoon, 16 to 24. Gqeberha, partly cloudy, 17 to 24. Gugompo City, partly cloudy with evening isolated showers, 19 to 24. Durban, partly cloudy with isolated afternoon showers and thunder showers, 24 to 29. Richards Bay will be partly cloudy with isolated afternoon showers and thunder showers, 24 to 32. And lastly, Pietermaritzburg will have morning fog, otherwise partly cloudy with isolated afternoon thunder showers, 20 to 29.
Worldview Update, bringing you closer to international or global news.
25 minutes after 6. In the wake of the conflict in the Gulf, we've really not paid much attention to the Russo-Ukrainian war. So let's give you an update on that. Russia's renewed push into eastern Ukraine is entering a more decisive phase, with Moscow concentrating its firepower on a string of heavily fortified cities known as the Fortress Belt in the Donetsk region. These urban strongholds, long seen as critical to Ukraine's defensive strategy, are now under sustained pressure as Russian forces combine numerical advantage with relentless ground assaults. Yet the battlefield story is not one of simple dominance. Ukraine is adapting, using drones and precision strikes to disrupt supply lines and slow the advance. Let's speak to Roland Henwood, political scientist and commentator at the University of Pretoria. Good morning to you, Roland, and thank you for your time as always. I make the point that while the world is focusing on what's happening in Iran and the broader Gulf region, developments in the Russo-Ukrainian war have, largely gone underreported in the last while. But there's a bit of a link, isn't there? Because even the focus of the powers that are supporting Ukraine, some of them seems to be in that region, in the Gulf at the moment.
Yes, good morning, Thulasizwe. I think what we're seeing is divided attention and the US focusing almost exclusively on the region with very little attention being paid to Ukraine. While the divisions in NATO and Europe between the US and Europe because of the war is emphasized because NATO is now focusing on Ukraine still, but the pressure is that they are finding it difficult to seemingly to get the equipment, the defensive equipment that they buy from the US to Ukraine in terms of numbers and in time. And that has also been confirmed by President Zelensky, saying that the Russians are reinvigorated. They are attempting a big push again, end of winter time. We've seen that pattern. But this seems to be different in the sense that Ukraine fears that they will run out of the defensive capacities that they need, the equipment that they need. It seems also that President Putin is also reinvigorated. If we see what information we get from Moscow, especially, he seems to be more involved again, more engaged and focusing on different aspects of the war and specifically on the economy. The war in Iran definitely gave him an opportunity to refocus. The oil sales is a boon for him at this stage. He was under severe pressure economically, and that seems to have, for the short term at least, changed the fortunes of Russia. To what extent that is sustainable and to what extent that is going to change the actual war, the front line, that is difficult to say at this stage.
Yeah. So let's talk about that for a moment, the combination of strategies. There was a period, I think, over the last year or so where much of the focus was on aerial bombardment of Ukraine by Russia using missiles and drones. But it seems now with these moves that are being made, what is known as the Fortress Belt, there's more of a focus on ground warfare. This, as Ukraine itself steps up its aerial warfare.
Well, I think Russia has not changed its strategy. It continues with bombarding, it continues with missiles, it continues with drones. What is different, it seems to try and overwhelm the Ukrainian defenses with sheer numbers. And that is the reason Ukraine's message is we need more defensive equipment, we need more to protect ourselves from the missile barrages, from the drones. Now, Ukraine is very effective in neutralizing the drones, but they need the American equipment to protect themselves against the missile strikes. And that seems to be a big fear at this stage. That also is not just causing damage, it undermines the fabric of society, the psychological impact in Ukraine is very important at this stage. So that is a serious problem. On the other hand, the emphasis on the fortress belt is not new. It's every year we've seen that end of winter, the new push trying to make progress. According to Ukrainian leaders, there were more than 600 attempts to move with attacks on the front lines. That has not been successful so far. The question is, again, how long can Ukraine hold? They're not going to start with a big offensive push probably, but they have to defend at all costs, and that is going to be difficult. And underlying this, we've seen President Zelensky coming out saying, we want to negotiate peace, but we want real peace. And in order to achieve that, Washington must come to the table with real guarantees for our future safety. So that is ongoing, but there are two messages coming out of Kiev at this stage. The one is, we want peace, but we need the guarantees of the US especially. On the other hand, we're not going to go for peace at all costs. So at this stage, a lot of possibilities, but there are many stumbling blocks in the way of either the war on the front lines or the peace process.
All right. Thank you for that. That's Roland Henwood, a political scientist and commentator at the University of Pretoria. Let's go to Anne, standing by with your latest news headlines.
Good morning. Thanks to us. In the headlines, the EFF has welcomed the arrests of 16 people, including senior police officers and alleged underworld figure Vusimuzi Matlala. The arrests are in connection with the alleged corrupt awarding of a 360 million rand tender to Medicare 24 Tshwane district, a company owned by Matlala. Judgment is today expected in the East London High Court in the urgent application to interdict the provincial elective conference of the ANC Kukompo. Disgruntled party members took the ANC to court over their dissatisfaction regarding the convening of branch general meetings. And Sudan's armed forces have been accused of targeting the largest hospital in East Darfur on the first day of Eid al-Fitr. I'll have details on these and other stories at 7.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Very good morning. Quite heavy on Pretoria's M1 South. We think it's probably roadworks. There have been some work activities there just recently. This is the N1 South from the Pumalani Plaza or from the N4 Bakwena Highway as you head through towards the Siafaka Makato on-ramp and off-ramp. Very slow going on that section. Also further down, a breakdown at Rigel Avenue causing a secondary backlog on your way out of Pretoria or through Pretoria this morning. Ekurhuleni side, the Zeefontein Avenue, once you get past the faulty traffic lights coming out of Tembisa, there's more trouble with traffic lined up towards Modderfontein Road. The Mike 1 from Boysons through Empire is heavy. Behind that, the M2 is back at Joe Slover, already trying to get into the Crown and join that Mike 1. And the ground instability issue on the N3 North near Heldmace. If you're wondering what those traffic restrictions are all about, not so much roadworks, but investigation into unstable ground caused by illegal mining. That's why you're backed up this time of morning coming out of Alberton and Germiston sides. Very heavy again on that N3. Durban, extra pressure running up the N2 towards the construction after Spaghetti Junction this morning. It's a broken down vehicle at 4 level, so coming through from the M7 Bluff exit. That traffic is already jam-packed, and problems getting in and out of Stellenbosch just outside Cape Town this morning. Looks like trouble on the R304 that's the Cliphaven Road just south of Bottler Ray. Possible collision there because you've got traffic backed up both directions. With your traffic update, I'm Rob Byrne.
This is SAFM Sport with Zai Khan.
Zai, good morning to you. In fact, on SABC News, I'm watching now Banyana warming up and getting ready, getting geared up for Algeria. But there are some concerns on the part of the coach, Desiree Ellis.
Good morning, Thulas. Absolutely true. Coach Ellis building the combinations, but she's got to rebuild the treatment table because it looks like it's more physio room than things happening in the dressing room. But yeah, we'll focus on the concerns that Coach Desiree Ellis is raising, and that's the injuries ahead of the upcoming international clash against Algeria. Key players return to boost the squad, but the coach says the technical team has taken a cautious approach, prioritizing player recovery as they build towards the Women's Africa Cup of Nations and World Cup qualifiers. But here's Coach Ellis on managing workloads.
You know, wrong of me to say that I already have my squad. I think with the league starting, it gives us an opportunity to look at other players. It's obviously players that are still recovering from injury, that have not recovered fully. You mentioned Ronald, who's been to the last WAFCON. Other players that have played well, that have missed out, would want to try to be consistent and say, Coach, don't forget about me, because we all know how big this tournament is. It's not just a normal WAFCON, it's a World Cup qualifying tournament.
Let's go now to Senegal's Africa Cup of Nations title dispute is heading to the Court of Arbitration for Sport after they were stripped of the crown following a controversial final against Morocco. The match originally, which was won 1-0 by Senegal, was later awarded 3-0 to Morocco after CAF ruled Senegal had forfeited the game following a protest walk-off. Now, CAS saying that it will hear the appeal as swiftly as possible, though a final decision could take months, with the case potentially running into the World Cup period. In the meantime, the FIFA World Cup 2026 runs from the 11th of June to the 19th of July. SABC Sport will bring you live coverage across SABC3, SABC Plus and all SABC radio stations. And in ticketing news, FIFA has confirmed that the final sales phase for World Cup 2026 tickets open on the 1st of April. Tickets will be available on a first-come, first-served basis via FIFA's official website, giving fans one last chance to secure their place at football's biggest event. And finally, rugby, the Springbok forward Cobus Visser has committed his future to the Bulls, signing a new 3-year deal despite interest from the Stormers. Visser says family stability played a major role in his decision, with his wife and young children settled in Pretoria. He also credited the head coach, Johan Ackerman, for helping shape his decision, saying the environment at Loftus Versfeld is ideal for the stage of his career. That's your sport on the morning brief. We'll have more for you top of the hour. I'm Zai Khan.
The business update on SAFM.
Good morning to you, Ndauleng. For our first update, let's look to Europe. Tell me about the ECB, the central bank there. You're saying they're shifting tone, flagging readiness to act on rising inflation. I don't think I like where this is going.
Yeah, I don't like where this is going, to us, because hey, once one starts hiking, others start looking at their positioning and somewhat start changing their outlooks as well. And the ECB saying that it won't take a wait and see approach to rising inflation, even if the shock is temporary. ECB President Christine Lagarde says policymakers are prepared to act if inflation overshoots the 2% target, warning that doing nothing could damage the bank's credibility. At the center of the concern is the global energy shock, with the Iran conflict driving up oil and gas prices and forcing the ECB to revise its inflation outlook higher. What's notable here is the change in posture. Central banks typically look through short-term shocks, but the ECB is clearly wary of inflation expectations becoming entrenched. Now, for households and businesses, that raises the risk of tighter monetary policy for longer. Right after Christine Lagarde spoke and signaled this a shift in tone, we did see Goldman Sachs then also change its expectations when it comes to monetary policy for the ECB, now pricing in 2 interest rate hikes.
Tell me about Meta being set to cut jobs again.
Yes.
What's happening? What's driving that?
So restructuring efforts are underway yet again at Meta, and this time around, about 700 jobs are on the line across parts of its business, including Facebook, sales, recruiting, and its Reality Labs division. Now, the company says the changes are part of ongoing restructuring, with some affected staff being offered alternative roles internally. While Meta hasn't framed the cuts purely as cost saving, They come at a time when the company is investing heavily in AI, hiring specialized talent, and building out new AI capabilities. At the same time, it's scaling back in certain areas, particularly within virtual reality, which has faced slower than expected growth. Analysts added that the latest round of job cuts reflects a company adjusting its workforce to align with shifting priorities rather than a broad pullback across the business.
All right, lastly, Ntaoleng, please recap market activity yesterday and set the scene for what is transpiring in those markets that have opened already.
Starting in Wall Street, it's green across the board, with traders still clinging on President Trump's every word. Talk of a potential de-escalation in conflict over in the Middle East still driving sentiment despite Iran disputing claims of negotiations. And with the conflicting statements, we've seen volatility in oil markets initially trending lower but making gains this morning, up just over 1%, trading at $103 a barrel. Back home, trade closed on a high yesterday, with the oil share up 3%, fueled by a near 5% jump in the resources as a relief rally ensued. The rand, however, seems to be left behind with only marginal gains. It's at 16.98 to the dollar, 22.69 to the pound, and 19.64 to the euro. Now, the picture over in Asia is quite different this morning, with stocks mostly in the red after a strong close in yesterday's session. Traders continue, of course, to react to conflicting reports regarding US-Iran ceasefire talks.
All right. Thank you for that, Ntaoleng. We'll talk to you again in the second hour of the show just after 7:30.
SABC2 is bringing the heat. New shows, new faces, and stories that hit home like the one I'm in. It's called Pinball, and that's where you can catch me, Clementine Musimane, Monday to Friday at 9 p.m. Live in every bit, the pulse of SA.
If you think you cannot afford a lawyer, think again. Clientele Legal has made professional legal services affordable. You receive up to 745,000 rand worth of legal services per year. Our range of plans include cover for you, your spouse, children, and extended family. Plans include cover for civil, criminal, and labor-related matters. Whether it's protection orders, gender-based violence, uncontested divorce, or poor service, your Clientele Legal lawyer will be there to assist you. Our services are convenient. Simply pick up the phone and call your lawyer or send us an email and we'll get back to you. All plans include a bail benefit of up to 5,000 rand and we'll go to the police station and pay it for you. Plus, Clientele Legal offers you 24-hour telephonic legal advice. SMS SAFM to 32195. That's SAFM to 32195. Clientele General is an authorized FSP and licensed non-life insurer. T's and C's online. Standard rates apply.
Exciting news, South Africa. SABC TV Licenses has partnered with Capitec to make paying your TV license simple, affordable, and accessible. If you're a Capitec client, sign into the app and click on Transact. Next, select Pay Bills, then click Pay At, and enter your reference number to complete your payment. It's as easy as that. You'll receive instant SMS confirmation. Now you can keep your stories alive and your screens shining bright. TV licenses, pay yours, make a difference.
Africa Update on SAFM.
Let's turn to Advocate Sipho Mantula. Raz, good morning. You wouldn't think this would even be a debate. You wouldn't think, Sipho, that it would even be a debate whether slavery was the gravest crime against humanity. You don't think it would be a debate, but it was.
It was, Thulas, indeed. Refresh your morning and Jumbo Africa to the listeners. Thulas, but remember, post the AU summit in Addis, Ghana has already said that they will pursue this matter at the UN General Assembly. And last year, the theme for the AU was around the question of reparations. But now we are able to locate this crime against humanity on slave trade. But let's look at the usual suspects who will abstain, because the vote gave 123 for this crime to be declared.
This is in the UN General Assembly, yeah?
Yes, Thulasizwe. Yesterday, remember President John Dramani Mahama is in the US. Now he went to the UN HQ to support this vote and to present the Ghana's position representing African continent. So the usual suspects, US, Israel, Argentina, abstain. 52 countries also abstain in the sense that, the three earlier that I mentioned, they did vote against, but those who abstain is only Britain and European Union member states. All 54 African states, voted for this resolution. Very important to us. When I looked into it, Guterres saying that this is very important to look at the core of personhood, broken up families, devastated communities. When I look at Ghana, they are saying, their Minister of International Affairs, Abalkwa, saying that this sends a clear message to the international community that impunity will never be tolerated. The last one, a poet laureate from Barbados, saying that there are spirits of the victims of slavery present in this room at this moment, and they are listening for only one word, which is justice. And that's how it has panned out to us. We are talking about what happened between 1500 and 1800. 12 to 15 million people were captured in the African continent and the African diaspora and were forced to work as slaves. That's where this journey ends to us. We don't know how will they implement this resolution now against most of the European countries, including the US, that benefited from the slave trade. And it happens on the week of Walter Rodney. Remember that book of Walter Rodney, How Europe Underdeveloped Africa. But in a way, we can turn the script to us how Africa developed Europe, because it was through enslavement.
In fact, Sipho, I think we will come back to this theme. Maybe tomorrow we'll start the show with it at about 6:20, because I'm just curious to know those countries that abstained and those that voted against. Could it be that it's based on other considerations, not just the mere designation of slavery as the gravest crime against humanity, but perhaps other bits of the text that they are not happy with? But even then, I don't know. I'm confused. So let's see. Maybe someone will set us straight and give us a bit more on this story tomorrow. Algeria, Italy, pulling closer together. The second visit by the Italian Prime Minister to Algiers, Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni.
Meloni goes there, but let's look at, is this trip coincident when you look at the war this current conflict in the Gulf, and this war is around energy also. It's around the gas, it's around the oil, So this visit, it is all about Algiers being a gas export to Italy, around 30% that Italy needs. But it seems their engagement, they are not going well, because it seems that Italy wants it at a low rate, but Algiers has what they call a gas at market price to us, but they want at a lower price. And this also shows that the challenges that are facing, they are using the direct pipeline called the Transmed. So this is the pipeline that allows Algiers and Rome to share this gas. And this way we are finding ourselves to us that Italy needs what they call the LNG from other countries. And they might look towards Mozambique. If they fail in Algiers, they might come down to the southern hemisphere.
Let's come down to the southern hemisphere, all the way south. Take me to eThekwini and this conversation around the blue economy. It's happening at the Inkosi Albert Luthuli International Convention Center.
It has ended yesterday, actually, and when you look at this Africa Ocean Innovation Summit, it is one of the key areas when you think of the blue economy, thing of marine studies as one of our catalytic niches at UNISA, that this is the area we are moving towards, to say, in this meeting when they met, they looked at how to transform, and they are looking at KZN, particularly eThekwini, how it can benefit. They are looking at the role of the UNDP, the role of the AU in terms of supporting these marines, because when you think of marines, you might think it's only about fishing, but it's all about creating jobs. It is also about the vital marine resources in terms of trade that moves around. And eThekwini remains what you can call a global blue economy. And that's where the summit ended yesterday, South Africa being the host. but they are trying to look at practical issues. You have AI coming into us. You have the issues of ecosystem in the African continent that you must build on. Communities also to us, because when you go into the blue economy, the communities who are sitting around those river banks, who are sitting next to the oceans, how do they benefit? And that's how I think this meeting was very important, bringing innovators, policymakers, investors, and industry leaders. But the community also sits at the center to us, because they are residing, most of them, within the blue economy. A case study can be Tanzania, Zanzibar. You look at Mozambique, Tulas. You look many oceans in the African continent. How will the African continent benefit even its own citizens?
Lastly, Sipho, let's go to your historical archive, the 26th of March, 1990.
Tulas, it's almost 34 years. We are on a Shavilanga Massacre Month, the Human Rights Month, but this was important. Actually, the origin and the genesis of the Judge Goldstone Commission begins here, Tulas, when almost 13 to 14 people, 500 people being injured when the police killed ordinary people from Sebokeng marching to Vereeniging to present their grievances on the rates and taxes. Tulas. That march was led by Bavumile Vilagasi from the Val Civic Association. We can say, Tulas, that report, it is in the TRC files. The Judge Goldstone Commission came clear to say those police who were involved in the killing of those people must be held accountable. That's how, Tulas, when you look, your Everton, Sebokeng, Sharpeville, this is the area where it's always not being raised. It is erased in the political history of this country that whenever you have protest, they will start from the Val. And that's how you find that the history sometimes becomes skewed, that it gives a single narrative. But the Goldstone Commission came from this Sebokeng massacre that happened 34 years ago in 1990. Asante sana Tulas, as was still leading the true version, SAFM observing the Shavilanga massacre month.
Sipho, thank you for that. That's Sipho Mantula with your Africa update for this morning.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Heavy delays, northern parts of Pretoria. Got the Mopani Highway at XX under real pressure now. Looks like something's happening there before the Rosslyn Road. So if you're leaving Shoshanguve, only way to Pretoria, it's heavy. Also the M1 South coming through from Pumalani Plaza or Durbanport Plaza off the N4. Roadworks down to Sefaka-Makato. That is a heavy backlog. And then further down, a couple of breakdowns between Garsfontein and Rigel causing additional delays as well. Joburg, the N3 up into the restricted section. Held Naysat again is bad. N12 Voortrekker, N3. Rand Airport, Elands Interchange Territory, both highways jammed heavily on that run through Germiston up to Bedfordview. Durban this morning, the Komashu Highway from Malindela down towards the N2, that is severely backed up. Breakdown on the N2 northbound just ahead of the main construction at Spaghetti Junction. So the N2 north queues from right back around the cement factory already. That's a lot worse than you'd be expecting. And a lot of traffic between sort of Amansam Toti up the N2 and Jacobs as you split off the N2 onto the M4. That is quite slow, picking up the Southern Freeway. Cape Town, N1, solid from Belleville through to Kuberg Interchange, N2 from the airport, under pressure all the way through to Hospital Bend. The N7, Jakes Herville passing Langa into Epping's heavy, and there looks like an issue just north of Stellenbosch on the R304. Well, there is an issue, just waiting to confirm what it is. It's got the hallmarks of perhaps a crash there. It's the R304, the Kliphavel Road between Kayamandi and Bottleray Road, closer to Bottleray. Very heavy both directions. With your traffic update, I'm Rob Byrne.
Brilliantly taken! Last year, the Proteas women were runners-up in the final of the ICC ODI World Cup against India in front of 1 billion cheering Indian fans.
The new champions of the world, India!
Now Laura and her team take them on home ground with your unwavering support behind them. Watch this unmissable T20 International Series versus India live this April, with 2 games in Durban, 2 in Joburg, and 1 in Benoni. Let's get behind the Proteas. Tickets are selling fast. Book today at cricket.co.za. Dare to be unbreakable.
Coming up on SAFM, the executive mayor of the Joe Gqabi District Municipality joins us to unpack the 2026 debt write-off and incentive program. Find out how residents and businesses can benefit from interest and penalty write-offs, what conditions apply, and how this initiative supports sustainable service delivery across the district. With the program running until the 31st of December 2026, this is your chance to understand how to get relief and stay compliant. Don't miss this important conversation right here on SAFM.
Is there ever a bad time for a good conversation? SAFM, leading the conversations that move us.
6 minutes to 7. A political and governance showdown is unfolding in Tshwane, where allegations of entrenched tender mafias have triggered a fierce war of words between the Democratic Alliance and the African National Congress. The DA's submission to the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry paints a picture of coordinated networks manipulating water, waste management and security contracts. Claims the ANC is now dismissing as politically motivated and strategically timed. At stake is more than just political point scoring. These sectors directly affect basic service delivery, from water access to public safety. So let's hear the other side then. Yesterday we spoke to the DA's chief whip in the city of Tshwane. Let's speak now to Joel Masilela Gamahlangu, ANC Greater Tshwane Regional Spokesperson. Good morning to you and thank you for your time. So the DA says these areas of water security and waste management have pretty much been captured by operations of mafia-like operators, including people who are linked to the African National Congress, including the deputy mayor of the city of Tshwane. What about what the DA is saying is incorrect and you don't agree with?
Good morning to you and listeners at home and those that are at work or even driving. No, we continue to maintain the statement that the DA is desperate in reviving its dying political stature in society and wants to find something. It's the ANC that has always been flagging this. Today, the 26th of March, marks a day that workers for the first time in 5 years have money that the DA has failed to pay, as you correctly indicated, about things that happen that hinder on service delivery. Central to that is that the MMC responsible for finance, as well as the deputy executive mayor of the city of Tshwane, through interventions of the ANC and the council and those in the coalition government, were able to push for the 3.5%, which Jackie Ace, who's now the chief whip of the DA, when she was in office, failed and arrogantly dismissed that workers were qualifying for the 3.5%, as well as what has now ballooned to 1.5 billion rands. Now, the DA knows that when it was in government, you would have come into my ward at some stage. They have literally failed to deliver services to black communities. But when it comes to elections, they make sure that they write and run to media houses to salvage their weak political campaigns and start painting pictures of things that would have been created by them.
Okay.
When the ANC was in government, we took a conscious decision that informal settlements must be formalized. What has happened? We reduced the number of informal settlements back then.
Mr.
Now
Masilela,
they came back.
Mr. Masilela Gamahlangu, with due respect, that's the DA. That's you saying they're bad, they're terrible, and I think some people will agree with you. That's fine. That's not the question at hand. The question at hand is your response to the allegation that says services such as security, water tankers, and waste management have been captured by mafia-style operators, including the deputy mayor. So I'd like you, in the remaining time, direct yourself to that. How can you? What's your response, also in light of what we've seen coming out of the Madlanga Commission?
If there are allegations of mafia, they must be probed, even through the Madlanga Commission and the SAPS. The ANC is not linked to mafias. We are not a political party of mafias. Secondly, the deputy executive mayor, according to the information that we have, he resigned himself from the company. He is not part of is it
Triotic Protection Services,
yes.
the one that was awarded one of these security tenders that have been under the spotlight. Yeah,
during the time or the tenure of the DA, they were supposed to have done their checks and balances at that time. Today, it's opportunistic of them to apportion what they would have failed to do and manage during their tenure, now bringing it into an administration that is now led by the ANC. We are not linked to any mafia. We are not linked to any malfeasance. And we're saying that we're supporting any endeavor of government or law enforcement agencies in getting deep into establishing those mafias, whether in whatever definition that they may be classified. And the deputy executive mayor, in conclusion, is that he took the ANC into confidence, that he has resigned himself. He has declared, consistent to the provisions of the Municipal Systems and Structures Act, on the Code of Conduct of Councillors, and them.
So what do you say to the forensic investigation of Ngube Incorporated then, that found that there were breaches of the Code of Conduct of Councillors on the part of the deputy executive mayor? You're saying he's taken you into confidence. Yes. That would suggest that you take his word over that finding of Ngube Incorporated.
Let's go back. There was that forensic investigation, and subsequent to that, that report was brought back to council, and then council took a decision that there needs to be an ad hoc committee that then probes further on those investigations that would have been established. That is a council resolution, and that ad hoc committee will be commencing its work anytime soon, where all parties in council will be presiding over that ad hoc committee to further probe the findings of that forensic investigation.
So none of the allegations, I'm running out of time, Mr. Masilela. Unfortunately, I need to really squeeze and push you. So all of these allegations, including all these issues and concerns around Morula-san and the debt that he's said to owe in relation to that, and the escalation of this, not just the awarding of the tenders for security, but the escalation of these ad hoc allocations and purchase orders that River Spies has been talking to, none of that concerns you to even want to go back to him and say, Deputy Mayor, what's really going on here?
Let us go back. We have, as the African National Congress, we are concerned about these damning allegations that are affecting even members of the ANC and those that are officials. That is why the ANC is following up on these matters, but we need to confine ourselves within the prescripts of how council gets to be run. When that report finally makes its way to council and it's concluded, the ANC will then be able to make its own determination and action on that matter.
Thank you. I've got to go. Thank you for that. That's Joel Masilela Gamahlangu, ANC Greater Tshwane Regional Spokesperson. And good morning. I'm quite late.
In our top stories, EFF welcomes arrest of senior police officers and judgment expected in bid to interdict ANC Eastern Cape Conference. Good morning. The EFF has welcomed the arrests of 16 people, including senior police officers and alleged underworld figure Vuzimuzi Kat Matlala. The arrests are in connection with the alleged corrupt awarding of a 360 million rand tender to Medicare 24 Tshwane District, a company owned by Matlala. He appeared alongside his co-accused in the Pretoria Magistrates Court, where the matter was postponed to May. Matlala, the first accused, was denied bail, while the rest were granted bail. Musa Mhlongo has more.
The arrests come as investigations into corruption within the security cluster continue, including proceedings before the Madlanga Commission, where evidence of procurement irregularities and collusion has been presented. The EFF says while arrests are a necessary step, they must lead to successful prosecutions, warning that past corruption cases have collapsed due to weak investigations, political interference and delays, allowing implicated individuals to evade accountability.
Meanwhile, President Cyril Ramaphosa says he will be working with the Minister of Police to ensure that the SAPS remains stable and able to continue fulfilling its mandate. The presidency's Vincent Magwenya says President Ramaphosa has noted the confirmation by the NPA of a summons for the National Police Commissioner, General Fani Masimula.
President Ramaphosa will be addressing the matter concerning General Masemula in accordance with the law. The President, working together with the Minister of Police, is committed to ensuring that the South African Police Service remains stable and able to continue fulfilling its policing mandate.
Judgment is today expected in the East London High Court in the urgent application to interdict the Provincial Elective Conference of the ANC Kukompo. Disgruntled party members took the ANC to court over their dissatisfaction regarding the convening of branch general meetings. The members believe the conference can't go ahead without their disputes being resolved by the party. Sidima Mfeku reports.
The applicants in the matter have argued that it would be illegal for the conference to go ahead. They say they have pending disputes which have not been resolved by the party's National Dispute Resolution Committee. The members alleged that branches were manipulated and as a result some did not even convene their meetings. The application comes as the conference is set to start this Friday. The legal representatives of the ANC have argued that the matter is not urgent and that conference should go ahead.
Municipal workers at Case Municipality in the Northern Cape have been left in limbo following an announcement that they will not be paid their March salaries. Earlier this week, the municipality issued a communique stating their coffers are empty and workers will not get paid. The DA at the municipality has demanded full financial transparency and wants to know when salaries will be paid. Case DA Councillor Rolf Christie.
An official notice has confirmed that March salaries will not be paid, with no clear date given. This comes after false promises earlier this month that a plan would be put in place. The reality is that the municipality is in a dire financial position. Revenue collection is sitting at just 20%, and although 8 million rand was received through the equitable share, it was used to cover previous salaries, leaving nothing for March.
The Western Cape Mobility Department has embarked on an initiative to register minibus taxi drivers across the province. The department says it wants to create a verified database of active taxi drivers in a bid for a safer and more accountable taxi industry. The pilot project was launched in Mitchell's Plain, where 510 drivers were registered. And finally, Sudan's armed forces have been accused of targeting the largest hospital in East Darfur on the first day of Eid al-Fitr. The BBC's Richard Kagoe has more.
Researchers at Yale's Humanitarian Research Lab in the US say satellite images reveal 3 separate strikes on El Dain Teaching Hospital in East Darfur. They say the damage suggests a deliberate aerial attack on a facility located in an area controlled by the paramilitary Rapid Support Forces. Government buildings and a police station nearby were not affected, leading researchers to conclude that the hospital was specifically targeted. Sudan's military has denied responsibility. Both sides in Sudan's conflict have faced accusations of attacking civilian sites, acts that could amount to war crimes.
Recapping the top story, the EFF has welcomed the arrest of 16 people, including senior police officers and alleged underworld figure Vuzimuzik at Matlala. The arrests are in connection with the alleged corrupt awarding of a 360 million rand tender to Medicare 24 Tshwane district, a company owned by Matlala. For SAFM News, I am Anne Musa.
Outsurance is in the business of saving you money on your car insurance premium. If they can't, ask for 500 Rand. SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754. Outsurance will go out of their way to try and save you money on your car insurance. If they can't, ask for 500 Rand. SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754.
With Outsurance, saving on your car insurance feels like finding money in that jacket you forgot about. 27-year-old Liam saves an awesome 640 Rand on his 2020 Ford Ranger. Get a quote now, and if Outsurance can't save you money, ask for 500 Rand or 1,500 Rand if you've been claim-free and with the same insurer for 3 years. Get savings or cash. SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754. Outsurance, licensed insurer and FSP. T's, C's and information online.
It's a very good morning to you. In your SFM Sports Headlines, cricket, Gerald Coetzee earning praise after leading the Proteas men the attack in New Zealand by sealing the series win. And in athletics news, the London Marathon organisers are considering staging the 2027 edition across 2 days to meet unprecedented demand. We'll have the details around 7:30.
SAFM. Guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Morning, heavy traffic coming south on Pretoria's N1. It's the northern part of the N1 between the Pumalani Plaza and Sefaka-Makato. Some roadwork still in place there, causing big backlogs on the M1 and on the N4 after Durham Plaza has come along that Bakwena Highway and merged into that N1 queue. A little bit of traffic being held up at XX on the mighty Mopani Highway, leaving Shoshinguve this morning. N12 Benoni through Boksburg is busy. More queues as you get in towards Galuli's interchange. And the N1 North out of Soweto up towards Gordon Road, looking quite slow as well this morning. Crossing to Durban, Higginson Highway out of Chatsworth, very slow to the N2. Breakdown on the N2 northbound at Spaghetti Junction. That's pushing a queue back towards Cement Factory. That N2 up to the roadworks there north of 4 level is next level delays this morning. It is very heavy. And the JG Champion exit out of Palmview, slow going out towards the R102. Just outside Stellenbosch in Cape Town, there's looks to be a big crash in. It's on the R304, but it's just south of the Bottleray Junction. So between Kaya-Mundi and Bottleray Road, there's some really significant backlogs in and out of Stellenbosch on that route. And the M5 looking quite full already. Traffic sitting from Parkwood, Southfield, all the way up to the N1 Kubo interchange. With your traffic update, I'm Rob Byrne.
The Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m. The Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m.
11 minutes after 7. Welcome to the second hour of the Morning Brief on this Thursday. I'm Thulasizwe Simelane. It's great to be in your company. Let's get straight to it. Let's start with the big story that developed yesterday into the late afternoon, early evening, that is sure of great consequence for us as a country. The country's top cop is now at the center of a widening corruption probe, and that raises questions about accountability at the highest levels of law enforcement in the country. The National Police Commissioner, Fani Masemola, is facing criminal charges linked to a controversial 360 million Rand healthcare tender, part of an investigation that has already ensnared a dozen senior SAPS officers. While President Cyril Ramaphosa has struck something of a cautious note, emphasizing due process and institutional stability, the case underscores persistent concerns about procurement integrity within the state. Masemola himself has pledged cooperation with the investigation, even as scrutiny intensifies over how the contract was awarded and later cancelled. Let's speak to David Bruce, independent researcher and in policing, crime and criminal justice, but he's also an ISS consultant. Good morning to you, and thank you for your time. Just the import of it all, David Bruce, the country's top cop, the police commissioner, was not arrested but was summoned to appear in court in April. But nevertheless, the intention appears to be to proceed with charges against him. What are the implications of all of this?
Right. Well, I think it's firstly, in circumstances such as this, important to point out that there are large numbers, thousands of members of the SAPS who are law-abiding and committed to serving members of the South African public, because events of this kind obviously create the impression that the SAPS is an organization that is corrupt across the board. But obviously, in circumstances of this kind, it profoundly undermines confidence in the SAPS. It creates a paralysis at the leadership level about facing the challenges which the organization needs to face. And obviously, then there's a very basic question about what the allegations themselves amount to.
So at this point, we don't have much detail of what the allegations against Masemola himself are. And I suppose we'll get that at the point at which he appears in court and this case starts to unroll. But it all has to do with this 360 million rand Medicare tender. And the narrative, at least as expressed by the official spokespeople of the SAPS, is that this is a moment of taking lessons about how it was possible that someone like Vusumuzi Ketmatlala and his company, with the rap sheet that he already had and all of these allegations that were swirling around him, he could secure this tender. What does that say about processes of procurement within the police? I imagine the police procure a whole lot of goods and services every year. What are we gleaning in terms of how that system works?
Right. Well, it's an important question because, of course, procurement corruption has been a major problem effectively throughout the public service in South Africa. So over the last couple of decades, we've had a major on-rolling crisis of procurement corruption throughout multiple levels of the state. And so certainly in this case, on the one hand, the charge sheet does provide allegations against specific individuals who are alleged to have been received enrichment as a result of this tender. But on the other hand, it seems that many of the allegations, and possibly also the allegations against Masemola himself, amount to that he did not adequately, or in some ways was negligent in fulfilling his duties as chief accounting officer.
So lastly then, David, the president, if you are in the president's seat now, how do you play this one out to keep the confidence, instill and keep confidence in the SAPS, but also to protect the investigation to the extent that it needs protection? You and I know the implications of a national police commissioner being accused of crime in this manner. All manner of things transpired when Jackie Selebi was at the center of investigations, and we've had the experience with Khomotso Phahlane as well. So how does President Ramaphosa play this one?
Well, I think he's obliged to suspend Masemola and appoint an acting national commissioner. The problem, the deep level problem is that since 2000 at least, South Africa hasn't managed to appoint a national commissioner who has in fact completed their term of office without facing allegations of some kind against them. And so it seems that South Africa has been really struggling to appoint someone in this role who will manage to complete their term of office, and while inspiring confidence in the manner in which they've performed their function. And so the one issue that this obviously raises is about the caliber of the candidates that are being appointed, but also the calls for a far more rigorous process in terms of appointing national commissioners.
All right, let's leave it there for this morning. Thank you for your time. David Bruce is an independent researcher in policing, crime, and the criminal justice system, but also an ISS consultant.
Across South Africa, online and on radio. SAFM, let's talk.
Coming up on SAFM, the executive mayor of the Jo'qabi District Municipality joins us to unpack the 2026 Debt Write-Off and Incentive Program. Find out how residents and businesses can benefit from interest and penalty write-offs, what conditions apply, and how this initiative supports sustainable service delivery across the district. With the program running until the 31st of December 2026, this is your chance to understand how to get relief and stay compliant. Don't miss this important conversation right here on SAFM.
Thulasizwe Simelane is streaming live now on Facebook, YouTube, and X at SAFM Radio.
A fire a couple of days ago, reducing one of Mthatha's most significant government buildings to ruins, triggering a disaster declaration, at least at the local level, and a wave of concern about what may have been lost beyond bricks and mortar. The Botasigcawu building housed multiple departments and decades worth of administrative records, documents that underpin everything from service delivery to legal accountability. While no lives were lost, the potential destruction of critical archives has raised serious alarm within the archival and governance community. So let's pick up on that aspect of the conversation. I'm joined by Maite Manganye, President of the South African Society of Archivists. Good morning to you, and thank you for your time. The one area that I heard about was the deeds office, the local deeds office that was housed there. But one imagines that if you've got a number of local and provincial leg of government departments housed within that building, the losses are quite significant. What do you believe are the things we lost in the fire?
Good morning to Thulasizwe and the listeners of SAFM. It's true, from the report that we are getting, it's evident that the building houses multiple government departments, meaning that it is likely contain the critical administrative and historical records, which are essential for service delivery and governance. So, from an accountability perspective, records are the evidence of government decisions and actions and the transactions that are done on daily basis. So without them, it really becomes difficult, if not impossible, to do investigations or either investigations of wrongdoings, which decisions have been taken, or the processes, and also the critical part to ensure the transparency of government. So in this essence, it means that if we have lost such records that are very critical, which will relate to your land ownership, what are the access to social services, those that prove identity and whatnot. So it means we have weakened the accountability of government, and also it will also eventually translate to a delay in service delivery or even denial of justice to ordinary citizens.
Without inviting you to speculate, because I really don't want you to do that, I don't want to put you in that uncomfortable position, but let me ask you if you understand why some people, when they see a fire in a building such as that one, can be cynical and say, we need to look into it, simply because it houses such critical records.
I think the issue is when you're coming as an ordinary citizen, we always say, as you said, I don't want to be speculating, but yes, this is my opinion, to say when things like this happen, then you start tracing back what are the issues surrounding that area, what could be a potential motivation, and what does others and to benefit if such are destroyed. So it gives room for doubt for others. For some of us, we understand it's disaster. We know it happens now and then. So you can't confirm, but I think people have a right to take it however they take it.
Yeah. Lastly, let me ask you about what incidents such as these, when they do occur, what do they emphasize in terms of the standards for archiving and record keeping in government? Much of it remains paper-based and actual physical files. And I doubt we are anywhere close to doing away with that system of having an actual document and file, physical file. But what does it say? Where are the loopholes that we need to close in terms of what happens when the physical file is lost and the ease with which it can be restored?
Okay, Thulas, this fire has once again exposed the serious risk of relying heavily on paper-based systems, especially for critical government records. So to prevent similar losses in future, there are several immediate steps that I will suggest that government department must take. Firstly, there must be an agent move towards a digitization of records, but not scanning. Most of us confuse digitization with scanning. So we need digitization that must be done properly with secure digital systems that will ensure records remain authentic, accessible, and backed up in multiple locations. So this will ensure that even if physical records are destroyed, the information is not lost. And secondly, I think the department, provincial government, they need to implement a serious, robust backup and disaster recovery plans. This will include your off-site storages, your cloud solutions, and regular testing of the recovery processes so that records can be restored quickly after such an incident has happened. So, and also we can consider stronger record management policies and compliance monitoring, because we might have policies and compliance tools, but do we monitor so that we can ensure that we are still intact in case something has to happen? And so your proper classification systems, your filing systems and retention schedules will then reduce the risk of chaos and loss even during emergencies. And I think the most critical part as well is your investing in fire detection, your suppression systems and secure storage facilities, and capacity building, because you can have all these tools in place, but if you don't have officials that are trained in modern record management practices, including your digital systems and risk management, then you're heading for disaster. And also the most critical one is leadership and prioritization at the highest level in terms of record management, that it must be seen as a strategic governance function, not just an administrative task. So this is where we realize that without reliable records, there can be no accountability, no transparency, and ultimately no protection of citizen rights. So this is not a one-action solution, but a coordinated agent shift towards a resilient digital-first record management environment.
All right, let's leave it there. Thank you for your time and your insights. Maite Manganye, President of the South African Society of Archivists.
The Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane.
In business, the right connections change everything. It's the stability you need for that once-in-a-lifetime virtual pitch, the lightning-fast speeds that keep you ahead of deadlines, and the consistent, high-quality signal your teams rely on every day. Because when your connectivity works seamlessly, so does your business. Power your workday with fast, reliable fiber from OpenServe, built to keep your operations running at full speed. Visit openserve.co.za today to learn more. T's and C's apply.
Thulasizwe Simelane on The Morning Brief. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m.
All right, to make sure that we accommodate our next conversation, I'm thinking we move it to just after the news headlines and the other updates as well. So it does mean that I've got a moment, in fact, a minute or so to take one or two of your voice notes at the moment. Let me take this one. Someone wanting to comment on the charges to be proffered against the National Police Commissioner, Fani Masemola.
Hi, Julius. Hoping you're well this day. Julius, let's put the facts on the table. If the president decides to suspend Fani Masemola, right, as a commissioner, right, now bear in mind that now his deputy, Mr. Spears, is also suspended, then he should appoint Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi as a national commissioner. Simple as that. There are no two ways about it. There are no two ways about it. He should appoint Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi as a national commissioner. Thanks, Tulas.
All right. Thank you for that. I have a feeling I expected that call to start being made. So it would be like, was it 2011 when Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi acted as National Police Commissioner, albeit briefly? Someone here has a story about Val history.
Bratulas, your team and the SAFM listeners. Bratulas, I'm very happy to hear Brasipo mentioning the Val history and mentioning our Kasi there, Everton, Sebokeng, Sharkville, and their input in South African history. But trust me, South Africans, if you can visit those Kasi, you can be very, very disappointed. Mr. Nomlala, Xabane, thank you.
Thank you very much for that, Mr. Nomlala. Let's go straight to N with the latest news headlines.
Good morning. Thanks to us. In the headlines, some of the country's labour unions have announced a coordinated programme of action against the crippling cost of living as global tensions continue to drive local prices higher. This will include the re-establishment of the Nedlac task team. The EFF has welcomed the arrest of 16 people, including senior police officers and alleged underworld figure Vusimuzikat Matlala. The arrests are in connection with the alleged corrupt awarding of a 360 million rand tender. And the Bisho High Court has ruled in favour of the Human Rights Commission against the Eastern Cape Health Department over the lack of access to emergency medical services to the community of Kogamouth and surrounding areas. I'll have details on these and other stories at 8.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good morning. One of our top stories, the delays coming through Pretoria on the M1 South. This top end of Pretoria's M1, it's the roadworks that have stayed in from overnight last night on the N1 South approaching Montana. So really big delays, whether you're coming through from Pumalandi Plaza on the M1 or whether you're coming along the N4 Bakwena Highway through Durbanport down towards the M1. You join into an enormous queue of traffic all the way down to that Sefako Makato exit. The N14, some queues on your way to Pretoria. That's the Krugersdorp Highway between the R55 Pretoria West exit and Brakfontein interchange, all backlogging through there. And Winnie Mandela Drive out of four ways, a crash at the M1 highway, so just watch for some extra delays there. Also a collision in the Ekurhuleni side on Zeefontein, coming from Kleurkop, a crash at Modderfontein Road. If you're on your way to Kempton Park, that is quite slow today. Durban, the N2, routing northbound, it's a heavy Thursday with a breakdown before Spaghetti Junction. In fact, there's now a crash as well, so crash before Spaghetti Junction, breakdown after the N2 remains heavy from Cement Factory this morning all the way up into the work zone, passing those obstructions. Cliffdale Keyridge at this stage looking good. Cape Town, heavy pressure in and out of Stellenbosch with a fatal collision. It's on the R304, the Kliphavel Road between Bottler Road and Kaya There's a lot of traffic on that route going in and out of Stellenbosch, and it's all being badly held up this morning. The rest of Cape Town looking fairly standard, perhaps the exception of the M5. It's heavy coming through Ottery up towards the Kuberg interchange. With your traffic update, I'm Rob Byrne.
This is SAFM Sport with Zai Khan.
Hey Zai, good morning to you. Let's start with this now. The Proteas men have sealed their series win against New Zealand.
Yeah, Thulas, absolutely. And we had a standout performer. He goes by the name of Gerald Coetzee. You know, we didn't have any of the senior players. The senior guys were missing. And Coetzee was like, don't worry, I got this. And that's exactly what he did for us to win the series 3-2. It was the T20 series win over New Zealand. Gerald Coetzee has received praise from the stand-in captain Keshav Maharaj. Marat says the clarity in Coetzee's role and the bowling unit's response under pressure was key to securing the series victory. So wonderful news. Coetzee leading from the front, finishing as the leading wicket taker with 8 scalps, combined with pace, with control there. Let's go to our Banyana head coach Desiree Ellis, saying the upcoming international friendlies against Algeria will play a crucial role in building squad balance ahead of the Women's Africa Cup of Nations. Ellis has named a 24-player squad, recalling overseas-based players, and with the competition for places intensifying, Ellis believes that fixtures will provide the right test as Banyana fine-tune combinations.
We've played a lot of physical teams over the last year. The last friendly of last year was a North African team, Morocco. Algeria is similar, also bring a little bit of physicality, but a lot different in terms of very good on the counter. They've played a low block during WAFCON last year. And I think they will challenge us in different ways. And I think leading up to WAFCON, we want as many different challenges as we can so that we are able to adapt during the tournament.
Motorsport, Fernando Alonso will arrive late for this weekend's Japanese Grand Prix in Suzuka due to personal family reasons, with reports confirming the 44-year-old two-time world champion has welcomed his first child with partner Melissa Jimenez. Now, Alonso's Aston Martin team have endured a difficult start to the season, plagued by Honda engine issues and sitting last in the constructor standings. On to golf, Tiger Woods insists he's still aiming to make his major return at the Masters next month despite ongoing fitness concerns. The 50-year-old has completed just 4 full tournaments in the past 5 years, following multiple surgeries and setbacks since his 2021 car crash. And finally, athletics. London Marathon organisers are considering staging the 2027 edition across 2 days to meet unprecedented demand. A record 1.1 million people applied in the public ballot, and that's for the 2026 race, which is a 36% increase on last year. Event organisers say they're exploring innovative ways to allow more runners to take part while ensuring positive benefits for the city. That's your sport. We'll have it for you more at the top of the hour. I'm Zai Khan.
When you train for results, you don't quit halfway. Earn up to 7.35% interest with a Nedbank Just Invest account. Access your money within 24 hours. Keep your money agile. Get money fit with Nedbank. See money differently. Nedbank. For more information, visit nedbank.co.za. We're licensed FSP and registered credit provider. T's and C's apply.
Hey, want to check your TV license balance conveniently? Look no further. Our SMS service allows you to do just that. By sending a message containing your ID or TV license number to 44210, you can quickly access your balance without needing multiple inquiries or waiting on hold. Plus, standard SMS rates apply. Take advantage of this efficient method to stay informed and streamline your payment process today. T's and C's apply.
Sorry I'm late, Sevi. Had to fetch my lucky putter. No worries, let's go. We're teeing off in an hour. Great. We're taking your car. Can't. It's already taken. What do you mean taken? It was right here when I left a few minutes ago. I sold it to Weber Cars and made a whole lot of green. Birdie told me that's the best way to sell your car. Not only the best way, it's the fair way. Kom ons vat die pad.
Don't be doff, be savvy. We buy cars geared for a fast sale, geared for you.
If you are out in Cape Town or the Winelands and you spot a Montreux Jazz Festival French Hook branded car, snap a photo of it or take one with it. Then post your picture on social media, tag at SAFM Radio and at MJF French Hook, and tell us where you spotted it. You could win 4 Prelude General Access passes for opening day on Friday, the 27th of March. Be there as the Montreux Jazz Festival kicks off in Africa for the very first time. See the car, snap the pic, Tag us, tell us where you saw it. Terms and conditions apply.
The Business Update on SAFM.
Dowling, good morning to you. So let's start with what government is saying about the spectre of fuel shortages. The message from government, it seems, is that we are safe for now.
Yeah, for now. I think the key phrase there is for now. Mineral and Petroleum Resources Minister Gwede Mantashe is urging South Africans not to panic over fuel supply risks linked to the US-Iran conflict. Speaking in Parliament, Mantashe said the country's fuel supply remains stable despite disruptions to global oil flows through the Strait of Hormuz. He stressed that South Africa's supply network is diversified, with imports count continuing as planned through to at least mid-April. He also pointed to local refining capacity, including Sasol and the SAPS refinery, as key to maintaining inland supply, even as the Cape Town refinery undergoes maintenance. Now, SA currently relies on a mix of imports and domestic processing, with roughly 60% of fuel imported and 40% refined locally. Mantashe added that the country holds about 8 million barrels in strategic reserves, which would only be used in a severe crisis. Now, while supply remains stable now, rising global oil prices are still expected to put pressure on local fuel.
In fact, pick up on that theme. We're going to be paying significantly higher for that fuel, which is secure for now. Secure but expensive. And politically, at least, the Democratic Alliance is calling for some intervention. What are they suggesting around the fuel levy?
So the DA has joined big business and labor in calling for relief on fuel costs as pressure mounts ahead of a sharp price hike in a few days. While business leadership South Africa and COSATU have called for a temp pause in the fuel levy, the DA is proposing a deeper intervention, a 50% cut to both the general fuel levy and the road accident fund levy. The party says this could reduce the petrol price by around 3 rand per litre, helping cushion consumers for what's expected to be a record increase, of course, driven by the US-Iran war. It has written to President Ramaphosa and Finance Minister Enoch Godongwana, arguing that as part of the GNU, it has a responsibility to propose solutions. Now, the DA suggests using surplus funds from entities like CETAs and the Compensation Fund to offset the cost, while also calling for tighter spending controls to ease pressure on households.
Lastly, Dowling, how are the markets looking at this hour?
Kicking things off in Asia, stocks trading mostly in negative territory as investors try and make sense of conflicting comments out of the US and Iran. The Hong Kong Hang Seng leading the losses there, down 1.7%. Then over on Wall Street, futures also in the red after yesterday's strong finish, pouring cold water on what many thought was a relief rally brewing. It's still early though, so we could see a turnaround there. And then bringing it back home, trade closed positive territory yesterday with the all share gaining 3%. However, the risk on sentiment not filtering through to the rand, with the local units on the back foot this morning. A stronger dollar continues to cap gains there ahead of the SAPS rate decision later today. The rand at 17.02 to the greenback, 22.73 to the pound, and 19.67 to the euro. Lastly, in commodities, oil remains in the green this hour, up 1.6% to about $104 a barrel.
All right, Dowling, thank you for that. We'll touch base with you one more time. Dowling will, in her last update, give you a sense of where the markets are likely to go on this Thursday.
Stay on top of all meaningful, top trending stories right here on SAFM. Leading the conversation.
17 minutes to 8, a disturbing pattern of targeted violence against the country's legal professionals is raising questions about the safety of those who uphold the rule of law. The latest killing, Labour lawyer Jeanette Gallican shot outside the CCMA in Johannesburg adds to a growing list of attacks that now spans prosecutors, advocates and attorneys across the country, with 5 legal practitioners shot in just 10 months, 4 fatally. The profession is warning that this is no longer a series of isolated incidents. Let's pick up the conversation with Advocate Don Mahon, who is Senior Counsel but also the Chairperson of the Johannesburg Society of Advocates. Good morning to you and thank you for your time, Counsel. Let me ask you this question. The shock that has rippled through the legal profession following the killing of Jeanette Gallican. Just tell me how you are seeing it from your perspective. Why are we not to see this as an isolated incident?
Morning to Thulasizwe and to your listeners. Yes, it really, in our view, this is not an isolated incident. It forms part of a troubling and increasing pattern in which members of the legal profession are subjected to threats, intimidation, and in the most egregious of cases, like this one, acts of lethal violence arising from the proper discharge of their professional obligations. Our colleague from the Pretoria Bar, Advocate Kareth Nordea SC, was the target of an attempted assassination in KZN. In July of last year, Ms. Tracy Brown, a regional court prosecutor in Gqeberha, was murdered under circumstances that suggest the killing was linked to her prosecutorial work. And in September of last year, an attorney, Bo van Niekerk, was assassinated in his offices in Johannesburg. And that's over and above well-known assassinations of liquidators and other legal professionals. So we view this as an increasing and alarming pattern where there seems to be a view taken by criminal elements that this is a means by which they can achieve their ends.
Yeah, just to complete, there's Paul Leisha as well, who survived a shooting, as well as the prosecutor Ilona Sombulula, also in the Eastern Cape. What do you believe is driving the targeting of legal professionals in this way? What's breaking down in the system of law and order such that these attacks are possible?
Well, one infers, of course, that this is acts of desperation by criminals who are facing, the long arm of the law, as it were, and are taking matters into their own hands because they have they're laboring under a misapprehension that this will somehow allow them to escape justice. But the view that we take is that they are completely wrong. That criminals must understand that they're not going to get away with this. It's startling because one must understand that the lawyer involved in any particular case is just one of the rungs through which the administration of justice operates. And if one lawyer is assassinated, another lawyer is simply going to be replaced. If a judge is assassinated, another judge will be allocated to the matter. So if criminals think that this is a means by which they can escape justice, they are simply wrong.
Locate this within the other concerns that have to do with safety around the courts. I saw the incident in Boisens a couple of weeks ago, but also we've reported on a number of other incidents. And then tell me what your gauge, how you gauge the response. Has it been adequate to the level of threat in terms of arrests being made, but also in terms of systemic interventions around safety around some of these precincts?
Well, the first thing is we must distinguish between the incident like the unfortunate incident of Ms. Gallican, which appears to have been an assassination related to presumably the merits of the matter in which he was involved, on the one hand, from just pure criminality on the other hand, which is endemic in the areas, particularly in the Johannesburg CBD and particularly around the High Court and the High Court precinct. There have been efforts to improve the safety around the High Court precinct, but it's just not enough. The Johannesburg Society of Advocates last year wrote directed correspondence to the Minister of Justice, the Minister of Police, the National Commissioner, and the chairperson of the Parliamentary Portfolio Committee on Justice, amongst others, to try and get them to take some tangible action. It's not enough to just put some patrol officers on the streets. We had called for at least 3 urgent steps: the formal designation of targeted attacks against legal professionals as priority crimes to be investigated with the urgency and seriousness that those offences demand. Secondly, the establishment of a dedicated multidisciplinary task team involving the South African Police Services, the Directorate for Priority Crime Investigation, the National Prosecuting Authority, and the Office of the Chief Justice to coordinate the investigation of such attacks and to develop appropriate risk mitigation measures, and the urgent tabling of the issue in the Portfolio Committee on Justice so that long-term legislative and policy reform can take place to shield legal professionals from acts of violence. And I might add that these should not be regarded as novel interventions. South Africa has binding international obligations to ensure the protection of legal practitioners. The United Nations Basic Principles on the Role of Lawyers provides that governments must ensure that lawyers are able to perform their professional functions without intimidation, hindrance, harassment, or improper interference. So where the security of lawyers is threatened as a result of merely discharging their duties, they must be adequately safeguarded by the authorities. And that is something that we are just not seeing at the moment.
All right, let's leave it there for this morning. Thank you for flagging the issue. That's Advocate Don Mahon, Senior Counsel, also the chairperson of the Johannesburg Society of Advocates.
Across South Africa, online and on radio. SAFM, let's talk.
SAFM traffic with momentum. Just as you plan your route, only 15% of households plan for retirement. Plan yours today. Speak to a Momentum accredited financial advisor for advice that meets your context.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Still very heavy coming through Pretoria this morning on the M1 South. Some roadworks from last night left in place approaching the Sefaka-Makato Montana exit. So heavy from the Pumalani Plaza going down towards Montana, and very heavy on the N4, the Bekwena Highway, moving through Doornpoort Plaza to run into that N1 South queue. A crash on the N14 heading to Pretoria before Brockfontein. Usual spot for collisions, and another one there this morning. The N12 and R24 routes are quite heavily backed up getting into there's also a crash going off the N3 on the N12 and R24 towards the airport split, so some extra pressure there. You've got some big pressure coming into Galulis from Ekurhuleni, but some pressure going through the interchange into that collision scene. And just generally being a Thursday, it is quite busy around Central Sandton, whether you're coming from Morningside, coming from Randburg, Bryanston, or coming across from the sort of Marlborough area, South Road onto Ravonia, Catherine Street, coming through from Barlow Park, all those sort of areas, very busy this morning. I'd say not unusual for a Thursday. Key Ridge, Cliffdale, worth checking on a daily basis, and certainly worth checking before you travel. Again, just yesterday's reminder of how bad it can get. It's not bad this morning, though. It's been a good clear run through there. The N2 North, a crash at Spaghetti Junction, so additional delays into the roadworks this morning. Traffic on the N2 queuing from the M7 all the way through Westwood Mall and up towards Umgeni Road. You've got a breakdown earlier this morning, plus now a crash and those long-term roadworks in place. Cape Town crash, N7 South before Borsemansdam Road. The run through from Dunoon into that scene is quite heavy. There'll be backlogs on Plattekloof Road as well, trying to get into the N7. And apart from that, we are keeping an eye on a serious collision on the R304. It's a busy route in and out of Stellenbosch. The crash just on the southern side of the Bottleray Road junction. So if you're heading out of Stellenbosch, big queue. If you're going into Stellenbosch, quite heavy as well. Rob Byrne, SAFM Traffic.
Momentum is part of Momentum Group Limited, an authorized FSP and registered credit provider.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it, they say. But my toaster isn't broken exactly. It just lands my toast on the kitchen floor. You see, some things only kinda never work. Like a financial plan based on generic advice. That's why Momentum accredited financial advisors take the time to understand you and only then apply their expertise. Advice meets your context. Momentum. your journey to success. Momentum is part of Momentum Group Limited, an authorized financial services and registered credit provider.
You could win a car. You could win a car. Everyone could win a car.
Spar Win a Car is back. Stand a chance to win one of 50 Hyundai Extras when you buy participating products like Baby Soft 2-ply toilet rolls, 18s for $126.99. Save 43 Rand or 50ml Rexona Shield Roll-On deodorant. Buy any two for 40. Save 14 Rand. Price is valid from 23 March till 7 April. Shop, swipe, and win while stocks last. Only at Spar. T's and C's apply.
Tired of paying more than you need to for your car insurance? Jason, a 45-year-old OUTsurance client, is saving big on his 2025 Hyundai i10.
That's true. OUTsurance, they saved me an incredible 520 Rand.
And if you're claim-free for 3 years, you get an out bonus.
More and more and more out.
How much could OUTsurance save you on your car insurance? SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754.
Saving so much every month, around 640 Rand.
That's right. 27-year-old Liam saves an unbelievable 640 Rand a month on his 2020 Ford Ranger. Enjoy benefits like panic assistance, which sends the nearest medical or armed response unit to you wherever you are. Get a quote now and see how much OUTsurance could save you. SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754. Licensed insurer in FSP. TCs and information online.
Exciting news, South Africa. SABC TV Licenses has partnered with Capitec to make paying your TV license simple, affordable, and accessible. If you're a Capitec client, sign in to the app and click on Transact. Next, select Pay Bills, then click Pay At, and enter your reference number to complete your payment. It's as easy as that. You'll receive instant SMS confirmation. Now you can keep your stories alive and your screens shining bright. TV licenses, pay yours, make a difference.
Call Thulasizwe now, 086 000 2032.
We go to a call from Peter in Durban. Good morning to you, Peter.
Morning, Thulasizwe. Thanks for taking my call. Just an observation. I am an attorney.
Sure.
And it seems to me that whether we like it or not, the legal profession has been dragged for a long time into the political fray in terms of resolving disputes which politicians don't seem to be able to do, so they rush off to courts, etc. And it's a good thing they trust the courts, but that brings lawyers into a firing line of dangerous politics. Politics in this country is dangerous. People get killed often. We know this. And unfortunately, it's bringing the legal profession into the sights of these criminals, and you can pay someone a relatively low amount of money to take out a lawyer. It's not that difficult. So I'm afraid that the legal profession is finding itself increasingly in the political fray, not just criminal matters, and that exposes it, and it is a worry. My own firm has tightened security measures where I practice because we're aware of this issue.
Concerning times, Peter, so your sense is that part of it has to do with South Africa becoming increasingly litigious as a society, and some of those being controversial bits of litigation over and above the issues of criminal law.
Very much so. The courts are being used every day to settle political disputes, and that can give rise to a dangerous situation. It is dangerous.
All right, Peter, thank you for calling in and sharing your own observations as an attorney. Let me speak to Sipho in Viking. Good morning to you, Sipho. Also the same issue on your mind.
Morning, Mguni.
Good morning, Baba.
How are you, Mguni?
Hi, ngiyaphila, Baba. You?
Ngiyaphila, Mguni. Mguni, I just want to have my take.
Yes.
Having experience of head the conduct of our lawyers. The problem, Mguni, here is that the South African lawyers, black lawyers in particular, Mguni, they are no longer preparing for the cases and stuff, Mguni. They rely on bribery issues. They become a bridge to the magistrate or the presiding officer to be able to take money from the whoever has committed a criminal offense and speak on his behalf to the presiding officer that is my boy, this one, let's give him a bail. So, a problem la, like take for instance, police officers find criminals under the ground, mining there. All of a sudden, these guys have what you call the lawyers, the best lawyers. You ask yourself, how do they pay these people? How do they get to know those people? So I'm a lawyer, I'm good. They need to be professional about their thing, and protect their thing, their profession.
Yes, I hear you. Sipo, I don't take issue with your criticism of the legal profession. The only thing I would ask you to do is to not generalize, right? You and I know that it simply can't be that lawyers don't prepare for their cases and they depend on bribes, especially black lawyers. It just can't be true.
Okay. Yeah. No, it's just that I'm always around the vicinity and working environment. Our products, and I see how they operate.
It's just the generalization that I'm taking issue with. The content of what you are saying, I take no issue. Where there are practices of bribery that are detracting from the credibility and trust in the legal professions, 100% I'm aligned with you that those must be rooted out. I just don't like the generalization. I prepare for my case. I can tell you now, I'm a candidate attorney and I prepare for my case. I don't sleep when I have a case.
Nguni, let me tell you, you see our the others, they sleep, and all they do, I know for the fact, Nguni, they will tell that criminal, no, we are not going to that court. We'll use this court because the magistrate of that court, I know him. He'll take something and then we'll grant you or whatever.
I hear you.
They must just be
all of us opposed
Nguni,
to any elements of corruption within the system. Thank you for that. That's Sipo in Viking. Let's go to Ann Musa. I've got a lot of these calls, by the way. So what I will do immediately after the news, I'll try and wade through some of them. But for now, let's go to Ann Musa with the latest news.
Outsurance Essential is made for older cars. Claims are paid in cash within 5 working days, and you choose your own panel beater. SMS CAR to 43185. That's CAR to 43185.
Thanks to us. In our top stories, trade unions to tackle crippling cost of living, and MK Party unveils its election strategy. Good morning. Some of the country's labour unions have announced a coordinated program of action against the crippling cost of living as global tensions continue to drive local prices higher. This will include the re-establishment of the NEDLAC task team. It emerged on the last day of the annual NEDLAC Labour School, with steep fuel price hikes expected on the 1st of next month, along with a rise in electricity costs. COSATU's General Secretary Solipetwe says the school has resolved to initiate a coordinated joint program of action.
We must embark on a national day of action in relation to the cost of living. Workers are facing challenges. Workers are trapped in many economic challenges, and therefore we're very happy that we put it here, and the 4th Federation has agreed for us to make sure that not the 7th of October on the decent work, that's another activity, but before the decent of October, we will have to take up these critical issues on the cost of living. As you said, on the 1st of April, petrol is coming up, and a number of issues are going to come up, and that's a trap of workers. And these issues of the unemployment, the retrenchment that is taking place in the country.
In other news, the EFF has welcomed the arrest of 16 people, including senior police officers and alleged underworld figure Vuzimuzi Kat Matlala. The arrests are in connection with the alleged corrupt awarding of a 360 million rand tender to Medicare 24 Tshwane district, a company owned by Matlala. He appeared alongside his co-accused in the Pretoria Magistrates Court, where the matter was postponed to May. Matlala, the first accused, was denied bail, while the rest were granted bail. Musa Mhlongo has more.
The arrests come as investigations into corruption within the security cluster continue, including proceedings before the Madlanga Commission, where evidence of procurement irregularities and collusion has been presented. The EFF says while arrests are a necessary step, they must lead to successful prosecutions, warning that past corruption cases have collapsed due to weak investigations, political interference and delays, allowing implicated individuals to evade accountability.
The MK party has unveiled its election strategy in Johannesburg with its policies up for review and refinement in June. This came out at the end of the party's two-day meeting of its high command held in Durban. The meeting resolved that despite the support that the party is enjoying countrywide, it needs strengthening. Secretary General Sibonelo Nomvalo.
The leadership has adopted a clear roadmap with defined timelines, including immediate consultations across all provinces, establishment of election structures, a national policy conference in June, a national manifesto launch rally at the beginning of the election period, followed by the Siatata rally on the eve of the elections. Policy Formulation Subcommittee will focus on consolidating party policies and will be constituted as follows. The chairperson of the committee is Comrade Lucky Montana. The deputy chairperson is Comrade Kanyisile Litchfield Shabalala.
The Bishu High Court has ruled in favour of the Human Rights Commission against the Eastern Cape Health Department over the lack of access to emergency medical services to the community of Kocha Mouth and surrounding areas. The ruling states that within 6 months, at least 2 fully equipped, staffed and operational ambulances must be made available to serve the community, and that the government must ensure an adequate, effective and sustainable ambulance service, which includes access to referral hospitals. The provincial manager of the commission is Dr. Eileen Carter.
We are encouraged by the outcome. So for over a decade, the people of Kocha Mouth have been without reliable emergency medical services. Now, that is clearly a violation of the rights to dignity, life, and access to healthcare. After exhausting all processes, the Commission approached the court to secure appropriate redress. So this order now compels the state to meet its constitutional obligations and restore functional ambulance service to the community.
Recapping the top stories, some of the country's labour unions have announced a coordinated programme of action against the crippling cost of living as global tensions continue to drive local prices higher. For SAFM News, I am Anne Musa.
Theft, accident and 1 million rand third-party cover for your older car. Outsurance Essential has it all. Get a quote. SMS CAR to 43185. That's CAR to 43185.
Proud of your networking skills? Prouder that your car is paid off? Well, with Outsurance Essential car insurance, you could be saving too. 63-year-old Mudisa pays only 344 Rand a month for his 2012 Chevrolet Cruze, and his claims are paid in cash within only 5 working days. Get Outsurance Essential car insurance today for unfinanced cars older than 5 years and valued at less than 130,000 Rand. SMS CAR to 43185. That's CAR to 43185. Outsurance, licensed insurer and FSP. T's, C's and information online.
It's a very good morning to you in your SFM Sports Headlines. Rugby, we've got Ambrose Paper pushing for a Springbok recall as his Bulls form puts him back in the spotlight. And in Formula One, Ferrari and Mercedes are set for a Suzuka showdown as the FIA probe, adding intrigue to the Japanese Grand Prix. We'll bring you the details around 8:30.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good morning. Our top traffic story, very heavy top end of Pretoria, the N4 Bakwena Highway onto the N1 and then the N1 south down to Montana. Sefaka Magato roadworks from overnight last night have been left in, approaching that Montana exit, and that's why it's so heavy. Doesn't matter whether you're coming through Durbanpool Plaza or whether you're lining up through the Pumalani Plaza. If you're in from the Brits area or in from Hammanskraal, big delays down towards that Montana exit this morning. Paul Kruger straight through Capital Park in the city centre is busy. Crash on the N14 before Brockfontein. Kruger Krugersdorp Highway heading towards Pretoria under a bit of pressure as well. And a crash earlier this morning on Zeefontein at Modderfontein, still causing delays. Also a crash on the R24 N12 through Galulis towards the airport split. There's a heavy backlog through the interchange as you pick up that N12 eastbound carriageway. And the Mike 1 M2, those highways busy through Crown up towards the Parktown area. Durban still clearing a crash on the N2 North before Spaghetti Junction. After that, you're into the roadworks. There's a joined up queue on the N2 from the M7 all the way through to Umgeni Road. And Cape Town, a fatal collision earlier this morning on the R304 Kliphavel Road, just south of Bottler Ray Road Junction, going in and out of Stellenbosch. Some very heavy delays there. Cape Town highways busy but moderate. The standout is a crash on the N7 south at Bosmansdam, holding traffic coming through from Plattekloof Road. With your traffic update, I'm Rob Byrne.
The Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m. The Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m.
It is coming up to 9 minutes after 8. Welcome to the third hour of the Morning Brief. We are on SAFM 104 to 107 and as always live on all of our digital platforms. Coming up in the next few minutes, we'll delve into, it's a rather specialist, I don't know if it's specialist, because when it's explained to you, you get it. But it's not an area that you and I, interact with on a daily basis. A policy change that the South African National Roads Agency Limited, SANRAL, is proposing around what they call rest and service facilities policy. That's the policy that governs the location as well as, just regulation of service stations along the main highways, national roads. So this policy is now being proposed and it aims to enhance road safety and the whole idea is to reduce driver fatigue and also generate revenue, of course. So what they are seeking to do is SANRAL is to regulate and potentially charge levies on petrol stations, EV charging points and related amenities within national road corridors. So that's where the controversy then comes in, because there's been a significant amount of pushback against it, including from one of my next guest, who's Joubert Roux, co-founder and chair of Charge. Basically, their take on it has to do with the whole point around EV, electric vehicle charging infrastructure, and saying that levying those will discourage that shift towards more usage of EVs. So it's one of those that you need to be plugged into those conversations to be aware of it. So we'll lift it up and talk to Joubert Roux in the next few minutes. But before we get there, I do want to take a few of your calls. So I don't know, Mpo, should we take a quick break and then come back and take some of your calls and WhatsApp voice notes?
Hey, want to check your TV license balance conveniently? Look no further. Our SMS service allows you to do just that. By sending a message containing your ID or TV license number to 44210, you can quickly access your balance without needing multiple inquiries or waiting on hold. Plus, standard SMS rates apply. Take advantage of this efficient method to stay informed and streamline your payment process today. T's and C's apply.
And Let's Connect is coming to you from the Montreux Jazz Festival in Franschhoek, the first time this iconic festival takes place on African soil. Join Penny Lebiane and friend Rico for exclusive interviews, behind the scenes access and the festival experience. Watch Friday, the 27th of March at 4:30 p.m. on SABC2. And Let's Connect. Be part of the moment. SABC2, you belong.
Call Thulasizwe now, 086 000 2032.
All right, let me pull back a little bit and let me hear from you. Gwede Mantashe, the archives as well as the killings of professionals are on your mind this morning.
Good morning, Thulasizwe and the listeners of SFM. It's Vele Mdlulo of Richards Bay, Mitraka. The question is, do we trust Mr. Gwede Mantashe? What happened with so many lies that ANC has spoken before. What about COVID-19? What did they say? Do not panic, do not panic. After that, boom, COVID was in the country. Even right now, they will say diesel, 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 don't panic. Boom, we're out of diesel. So there's nothing to trust about these people of ANC. I thank you.
Morning there, Sims. My name is Lynn. I'm actually very upset about some Tata Balding because those archives, the memories that have been burnt, should have been in fireproof cabinets. And they have not mentioned anything about fireproof cabinets or steel cabinets. And that really is a hang of a loss.
Good morning to us, Lukman, Cape Town. The slaughtering, not the killing, the slaughtering of legal professionals, but also of Africans. It is pure barbarism. It's pure. It is criminality. It is killing, and I don't know how we're going to get around this because the top brass of the police is in the Matlangam Commission. Everybody's implicated. Even now, Fani Masemola is implicated. So where are we? I mean, what are we going to do? It's not time for stand up and march and make it well-known political parties. It can't go on like this. It's killing for free. It's just easy. No, man, this must stop. South Africa, we must stand up. Tomorrow it's me and you.
Yeah. Look, man, thank you for that. You and I have engaged on this issue. It's part of the ecosystem of violence and murders in the country. In an ecosystem like that, targeted murders are, possible because, already you have the environment is awash with that kind of violence anyway, and therefore getting a hitman is not a problem. It's as easy as that when you want to engage in targeted killings. We really are in deep trouble. Anita in Bloemfontein, good morning.
Morning, Thulas. How are you?
Very well. How are you? Please go ahead.
I'm good, thank you. Yeah, just a quick one. I just want to weigh in the issue of the lawyer.
Yes.
Thulas, I don't think it's something that just stays with lawyers.
Mm-hmm.
There's a problem of lawlessness in the country.
Yes.
I work in the civil engineering sector, and you get threatened, Thulas. You get threatened every day. You get threatened for disapproving substandard work constructed by subcontractors who are local. I have a colleague who recently just packed his things and left side because he was getting threatened with a gun. So I don't think it's a matter of lawyers.
Yes.
There is a problem where people who are trying to uprule, like who are trying to walk according to the law and do the right things, are just persecuted. And I think, at least I will speak for my profession, you go through that. So I am guessing the lawyers also go through the same thing. So it is something that the government really needs to wake up
Auditors as well, being the other targeted profession as well.
So it's every sector. You trying to do the right thing, you get threatened.
All right.
I'm sure if these people can call working for the government, they will tell you, if you want to try to work according to the rule, you're going to get killed.
You're the odd one out.
Yes. So
Sure.
it's a serious concern. It's a serious concern. Lawlessness is it's a problem.
All right, Anita, thank you for calling in. That's
you.
Anita in Bloemfontein. Mpo in Boksburg, something different on your mind. Tell me about the sinkhole.
Yeah, sure, Brad.
Sure.
Yes, although I'm slightly nervous, it's actually my first time.
Why are you nervous, Madam Fuit? It's a lag, no. Eh?
It's the first time, Hotman. It's the first time.
Sharp, man. Relax. Talk to me.
Sure. Brad, yes, in and around Boksburg, there's a sinkhole in the road called Rondebelt Road. Now, this road is taken to airport, it's taken to Eastern Mall, it's taking all the various industry within Ekurhuleni. As you know, that Ekurhuleni is known for the manufacturing. Now, after that, I think that sinkhole happened even before Joburg blast. And then later, there was a truck in 2022 that blasted under the bridge, just near the OR Tambo Memorial Hospital.
Yes, I remember that.
Both roads are now closed. So I just wish to say, without sounding rude to Executive Mayor, to Nkosi Mphiwe Qhakaza, to say that, would you kindly look into that with immediate effect? I don't want to sound like Mr. Mchunu, but then can you just...
You mean immediately as in now? not immediately, as in next year. Mpho, tell me, what are you saying? That since the blast in Boksburg that led to the closure and all of that work that is happening around that road, there's now this sinkhole that means that the alternative road is also closed?
Yeah, it means the alternative road, which was going under the bridge, which is close to the OR Tambo Hospital Memory, is also closed. Now, all the users are forced to go via town, Boksburg town. It's a small town just next to Boksburg High School. So now, the traffic there in the morning,
I can imagine.
Especially if the robots are not working.
Yeah.
Please,
all
if
right.
possible. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sharp Mpho. You see, you were doing just fine. You were just okay. That's Mpho out in Boksburg. You see there, if anyone is listening in Ekurhuleni, in between, being busy with whatever it is that you get busy with, the political shenanigans that we report on from time to time. When you find time, these are the issues that people would like you to attend to. Wonga in Matatiele, good morning.
Good morning, Thulas, and good morning to your SFM listeners. Thulas, we've got a problem here in Matatiele. We've got panel of contractors that have been selected to do some jobs for 3 years. So in this week, they were awarded, 2 of them were awarded. One that was tipped to be awarded, they discovered that the tax clearance or the tax pin has expired. They decided to hold that particular job, which has to take place in Ward 13 in a place called the Tlaganelo. It's a bridge and a road. It's a big project. Now, they kept it for this company so that this company must apply for SARS. Then after 7 days, when that tax pin arrives, then they award that particular company. The worst part, the same particular company that is tipped for this job has been terminated twice in Ward 14 and then in Ward 7, whereby it was declared company that is not functioning. So that particular corruption, so we've got a problem. Yes, our original, I would say our municipal manager who left, but now we've got the acting municipal manager who is here for 3 months. She is doing those shenanigans. The staff is frustrated. So since she came in from January 17, nothing was awarded. Everything that has been on tender has been cancelled. Everything that was supposed to go to evaluation has been cancelled. So we are sitting in with a problem whereby when come the time where we have to, all in all, to us, we are almost late for 3 months, and we will be in big problem with the national treasury because we will not spend money
All right,
for the disaster. Remember, this bridge is for a disaster. So the disaster, if you don't spend, they take that money, and in the next coming financial year, you will lose more and more money because you have failed to spend.
Wonga, please stay on hold. Please stay on hold, and let the team take your details. Let's see if we can pick up on that conversation. It's an important one, isn't it? Because it has echoes and hallmarks of some of the practices we've been hearing about at the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry, where, the non-compliant contractor or bidder seems to be preferred and are given a second, a third, and a fourth, and a fifth, and whatever umpteenth chance to get their status sorted out, at least according to the allegation made by Wonga this morning. So as I say, we will reach out to the municipality in Matatiele to see if we can get an explanation for some of what he's talking about. I'll come back to your calls and messages a bit later on.
SAFM supports a litter-free South Africa. Play your part in keeping our surroundings and environment clean. SAFM, leading the conversation.
Without insurance, saving on your car insurance feels like finding the last parking spot at the mall. 45-year-old Jason saves an unbelievable 520 Rand on his 2025 Hyundai i10. Get a quote now, and if Outsurance can't save you money, ask for 500 Rand or 1,500 Rand if you've been claim-free and with the same insurer for 3 years. Get savings or cash. SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754. Outsurance, licensed insurer and FSP. T's, C's and information online.
Thulasizwe Simelane on SAFM.
All right, let's get to that story. 22 minutes after 8, the South African National Roads Agency Limited, SANRAL, is proposing a new 2026 policy for rest and service facilities on national roads. And we are told it is aimed at enhancing road safety, reducing driver fatigue, and generating revenue. The draft policy seeks to regulate and potentially charge levies on petrol stations, EV charging points and related amenities within national road corridors. It's met up with some pushback, including from the organization from which my next guest comes. It's called Zero Carbon Charge, and it's called Charge for short, a developer of off-grid solar-powered electricity vehicle charging infrastructure, which has formally objected to the proposed amendments to the SANRAL rest and service facilities policy. Hubert Roux is co-founder and chair of Charge and joins me now. Good morning to you and thank you for your time. It sounds noble enough, the goals and objectives of this rest and service facilities to, curb driver fatigue, reduce driver fatigue and enhance road safety and generate revenue. What about it doesn't sit right with you?
Thulasizwe, good morning and good morning to your listeners, and thanks for having me on your show. This is a very important issue that affects every single South African road user or user of road services, including taxis and buses, and so it affects every single South African. The aims as stated like that is, of course, very noble. But, SANRAL have got an absolute monopoly over access to the national roads, and not only to the national roads. There are 15 national roads, as we all understand them, the ones with an N in front of them, but there are also 121 sections of provincial roads, one metropolitan route, and 2 districts routes to which these rules will apply. So any commerce within the 60-meter building restriction from the edge of the SANRAL property, or within 500 meters of an intersection with the SANRAL road, will be subject to the levies, but SANRAL will centrally decide where these facilities can be placed, what environmental compliance there must be, who can own and operate them, and what is allowed to be done on those properties. So it's an absolute top-down, and it's actually an expropriation of the individuals that own those properties' rights. And the rates that they intend imposing in their last rate card varied between 5 and 7% on all services, all goods sold on those properties, and between 2 and 3% on fuel or energy sales. So it's up to 10% of your total purchase at one of these facilities will go to SANRAL, and it goes on top. It's not so the noble idea of rest facilities is there, but it's a service that the private individuals can provide and decide where the public needs it.
But will it necessarily that levy that we're told, at least according to the reporting of Engineering News, can be as high as 10%? Will it necessarily be borne by the road users when they stop at these rest and service facilities, or is it to be levied on the gross turnover of these operators? Or am I being naive in trying to believe that there's a distinction in that eventually it will be passed on?
This, you should almost view it as like a value-added tax. Because it's levied on a turnover, no individual business can is so profitable that it can just subsidize a 7% levy on sales. And if we put it in perspective, it's you're going to pay 3% on your fuel. With the new fuel price, that might be as much as 90 cents per liter that you're going to pay extra. There's no ways that the operator can absorb that. 7% on your Coke sounds like very little, but until you realize, but it can be as much as R1 on each Coke that you buy goes to Sanral. But it's even the problem is even bigger than that. It's not just about the levies. Somebody needs to pay for the roads, and nobody denies that. It is how it will be applied, because Sanral's got a monopoly on access to their roads. So they've got monopoly power. But the biggest problem is they now also want to utilize their land over which they've got the right to expropriate. They can arbitrarily change these levies. So it's an administrative thing. It's not subject to oversight, like in a municipality. Sanral is not a taxing authority. It's not a local authority. It's business. So the danger here is for scope creep and for an overreach.
Yeah.
We've been subject to that overreach already, where they've delayed some of the comments, because they're a commenting authority in the land use application, for more than 1,000 days to try and push it out till this new policy has been implemented. And the only reason why we've got saying this policy now is because the court forced them to go through a public participation process. Right. They just wanted to implement this on the
Because
fly.
of time, let me ask you a final question. Part of the goals, the stated aims of this policy is to create opportunities for previously disadvantaged individuals to participate in these roadside businesses and their ownership. Why should someone listening this morning not view this as the issues you raise as a proxy for resistance to transformation?
No, absolutely not. Plenty of our landowners are new landowners. Every person that owns a piece of land next to the Sanral roads have got the right to operate a facility. This might be a barrier to that sort of entry, a centralization, and a license to abuse that power. And to whom do we want an official in a business to decide who can operate on private property? I think it's just open to abuse.
All right. Thank you for your time this morning. Hubert Roux is co-founder and chair of Charge. Brings us to 8:30, and Musa is standing by.
Good morning. Thanks to us. In the headlines, 4 men have been shot dead following a shootout with police at sites in Khayelitsha and Cape Town. Police spokesperson Novela Potelwa says the provincial combat team followed up on information about the suspects who were allegedly involved in extortion of businesses in the area. Suspended South Gauteng Director of Public Prosecutions, Advocate Andrew Chauke, is expected to take the stand when the Nkabinde inquiry resumes in Pretoria this morning. The inquiry is probing his fitness to hold office. And some of the country's labour unions have announced a coordinated program of action against the crippling cost of living as global tensions continue to drive local prices higher. This will include the re-establishment of the net lactose scheme. I'll have details on these and other stories at 9.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good morning. Our top story this morning, and the one that we've been advising you to avoid, is still a major problem. It's the roadworks on the M1 South going into Montana, down towards Sefaka-Makato. Behind that, the N4, Bakwena Highway, queuing deep back past Durbanport Plaza. So whether you're through Durbanport on the N4 or coming into Pretoria off the N1 through Pumalani Plaza, you're going to get whacked on both of those highways and whacked with some very heavy backlogging going on there. Just pretty busy getting into Sandton this morning. It can be on a Thursday. The run-in from Morningside, from Bryanston, Randburg, down onto William Mandela and Sandton Drive in towards Parkmore. It's all very slow. Mike 1 North, North, queuing up to get off at Grayston. The perennial problem around that junction, no traffic lights. Grayston Drive, Mike 1's always on the fritz, that one. The Mike 1 going north, a collision at Crown Interchange, so traffic stays very busy from Boyson's, Gold Reef City on your way to Joburg, and of course behind that, the M2 backing heavily from Joe Slovo Drive, again trying to get into the M1 at Crown. You're turning basically straight into that collision. Crash on the N12 eastbound by the R24 split, routing through Galulis, particularly off the N3 northbound. Wanted to get through Galulis onto the N12 or R24 east towards the airport of Boksburg. Very slow going. Durban's N2 still chock-a-block for this time of day. A lot of that due to the crash before Spaghetti Junction. Then, of course, the roadworks shortly thereafter. And if you're going out of Stellenbosch, still a backlog on the R304, heading into a fatal crash scene up by the Bottleray exit. It is moving better, but still very slow. And the highways around Cape Town, the standout this morning on an easier Thursday is the N7 South, a collision at Bosmansdam Road, keeping traffic pressure back as far as Plattekloof Road. Rob Byrne, SAFM Traffic.
This is SAFM Sport with Zai Khan.
Zai, good morning to you. Let's talk rugby. Ambrose Papier is in hot form, isn't he? And making it almost difficult to ignore him.
Oh yeah, Thulas. I mean, he is hot like our morning coffee. Definitely brewing something serious. And he wants that serious Springbok comeback, which is what he set his sights on. And he is putting a strong case because he has had standout performances in the United Rugby Championship. The 27-year-old has been instrumental for Pretoria this season, and that's the Bulls combining his sharp service with attacking flair alongside Handré Pollard. His absence was felt in the Bulls in their recent loss to the Stormers, just underlining his influence despite stiff competition from the likes of Kobus Reinach, Jaden Hendrickse and Grant Williams. Papier's current form becoming increasingly difficult for the national selectors to ignore. More rugby, the Bulls lock Kobus Visser says his side must show more hunger than Munster when the teams clash in the United Rugby Championship at Loftus this weekend. The Bulls are coming off a strong win over Cardiff, while Munster will be desperate to bounce back after a heavy defeat to the Sharks. Let's go to soccer. Former Orlando Pirates and Kaizer Chiefs striker Leslie Honolo Majoro is taking his passion for goal scoring into coaching, launching a specialist strikers academy aimed at developing attacking talent across South African football. Majoro has already worked with rising talents including Mduduzi Shabalala and Mohau Nkota, focusing on sharpening their movement.
Obviously, like I try by all means, like to take videos because, like, without data, you can't measure the progress, and also try by all means to take note of each and every shot that the player takes, the kind of position he is, and then the kind of technique he chooses to take a shot at, and try to rectify where I can. And also, I believe, like, having done my coaching license has contributed immensely in the way that I view a session, in the way that I approach each and every session, so that, like, we don't use a blanket approach to each and every player that comes here. So data that I collect through my phone and going through those videos, even though it's not enough, but I can't be stopped from doing what I want to do based on a lack of equipment and certain things that are needed in order for me to be as accurate as I want to. Baby steps will lead to the destination that we all want to be.
That's former Orlando Pirates and Kaizer Chiefs striker Leslie Honolo Majoro on the morning brief. Now, Formula One, the spotlight shifting to Suzuka this weekend, where Ferrari could capitalize on growing uncertainty around Mercedes. The Silver Arrows, dominant early in the season, are under FIA investigation over their front wing design, which may not comply with new active aero rules. With Max Verstappen and Red Bull off the pace, the race looks wide open. Moving to athletics news, and South Africa's marathon queen Gerda Steyn is drawing inspiration from Comrades legend Bruce Fordyce as she prepares for the Two Oceans Marathon in Cape Town next month. Chasing a remarkable 7th consecutive title, Steyn says fitness testing before race day is key to setting the right pace. The defending champion, known for her meticulous preparation, believes understanding her body and data is crucial.
She's a machine,
as she
that
aims
woman.
to extend
She's a
I
machine.
mean, she is.
She's a machine.
I should have just said she is a machine. I mean, non-stop. And speaking of machines, this was the machine of a bicycle that crashed to last stage 3 of the Volta a Catalunya. It saw Remco Evenepoel crashing just 500 meters from the finish, but it was Dorian Gordon who claimed stage 3. That's your sport. We'll be back with more. That's around 12:30. More sport with John Hedeka. I'm Zaikan.
The Business Update on SAFM.
Dowling, good morning to you once again. Let's start with news to do with our own pockets, right? Take-home pay remains steady in February. Not mine.
Are you sure about that? Sure? Is it, if it's not steady, that means it's trending higher.
No.
Let's clarify.
Quite the opposite.
All right, so looking at that data, Tilas, according to the latest Pay Inc. Net Salary Index, that index it rose just 0.1% in February. So quite flat, quite steady, taking the average take-home pay to about 21,550 rands. While that suggests stability, the bigger concern, of course, is whether this can last. Rising oil prices being driven by tensions in the Middle East are expected, of course, to push fuel costs higher, and that feeds into transport and food prices, putting upward pressure on inflation and eroding household purchasing power. And so economist Elise Kruger adds that high inflation limits the SAPS room to cut interest rates and potentially keeping borrowing costs elevated. For households, this points to tighter budgets and reduced spending power, while businesses may face rising costs and uncertainty, a combination that could weigh on growth and employment in the months ahead. So, yes, some growth coming through, but the big question here is whether that can be maintained and whether we'll see that moving forward.
You know whose take-home pay is trending higher? Remgro shareholders. Now that's
I thought you were going to give me some gossip there out.
No. That's it. That's it. You know the story already. Remgro shareholders, their take-home pay is not remaining steady as the trend shows. It's going up.
Not at all, Tilas. That shareholder will be smiling all the way to the bank as the investment company hiked its interim dividend by 80% following a strong half-year numbers. Now, the group chaired by Johan Rupert reported a 38% rise in headline earnings to just over 5 billion rands, and that was driven by improved performances across its diversified portfolio. Stronger contributions from Mediclinic, Rainbow Chicken, and Heineken, along with a once-off boost from a pipeline cost refund at Total Energies, helped lift overall earnings. Cash flows also strengthened, with higher dividends coming through from underlying businesses. However, the group has cautioned that global risks are building, particularly from tensions in the Gulf region, which could push up inflation and borrowing costs. The group is also paying very close attention to what's playing out in the Middle East, as its private hospital, Mediclinic, has operations in the region.
Lastly, Dowling, wrap up everything you've told us and tell me about the scene that it sets for the markets today.
So the JSE could be in for a mixed open due to conflicting comments from Iran and the US. Geopolitics aside, investors back home will be keeping a close eye on the SAPS MPC decision out later today. And ahead of that move, the rand is trending weaker at 17.02 to the dollar, 22.74 to the pound, and 19.68 to the euro. And then looking at commodity markets, particularly oil, up 2% this hour and trading close to $105 a barrel. Now, gains in energy prices weighing on equities, with US futures in the red and Asian stocks on track to close mostly in negative territory.
All right, Dowling, thank you for today. Let's talk again tomorrow. And Dowling Lechela has kept you updated on business, economics, and the markets.
Bafana Bafana are preparing for the 2026 FIFA World Cup.
which will be hosted by the United States of America, Canada, and Mexico from 11 June to 19 July 2026. Bafana Bafana will host 2 international friendlies against Panama on Friday 27 March in Durban at the Moses Mabhida Stadium at 7 p.m. and Tuesday 31 March in Cape Town at the DHL Stadium at 7:30 p.m. Tickets are available at Ticket Pro at 80 Rand for adults and 50 Rand for children under 12. For more details, visit safa.net and Bafana Bafana on X.
Across South Africa, online and on radio. SAFM, let's talk.
All right, the runway lights are in sight and we are approaching our destination. But before we get there, let's tell you this story. As the world marks World Tuberculosis Day, TB, as it's observed globally, new findings have been highlighted in the TB Accountability Consortium State of TB Report 2026, and they reveal significant gaps in the country's TB response, particularly a failure to adequately reach men who are most affected by the disease but least likely to be tested. The findings drawn from the country's newly launched TB public dashboard raise concerns about the effectiveness and targeting of national TB programs. Let's pick up on that conversation with Professor Jan Verskoor, who is the Chief Scientific Advisor at Marty TB Diagnostics and an Emeritus Professor in the Department of Biochemistry, Genetics and Microbiology at University of Pretoria. Prof, good morning. Thank you for your time. Before we get to where the gaps have been identified in terms of this report, what is the lay of the land as far as TB is concerned? Incidence, the response thereto, as well as the levels of testing?
Yes, the 2030 goals that were made, that we referred to in your introductory statements, that aims to reduce the incidence by 80% and the deaths by 90% in South Africa by 2030. Now, we are making a reasonable progress, not 80%, but we are making a reasonable progress towards the reduction of the incidence, but almost no progress at all on this. So we remain at 50,000 deaths approximately in South Africa annually already since 2016. And that is the big concern. That is the missing persons who die and only before they could be treated, only then is discovered that they had TB, that the actual cause of death was tuberculosis. That is a big problem. Incidence is now down to 250,000 per annum, but the death rate has not changed significantly. So that is a big challenge.
So what accounts for the high death rate as compared to the incidence dropping? Incidents, we're told, dropped something in the region of 57% since 2015. So what accounts for the deaths then?
The death rate is due, first of all, to technology, and that is, there is currently no technology that allows practical and affordable TB surveillance, that is early TB surveillance. So the current method of diagnosis of TB happens by means of a lung sputum sample that has to be coughed up. So those are difficult and dangerous circumstances. One can easily infect people around you when you are busy in the process of coughing up that sample. And that is a big problem that needs to be solved, preferably by a blood sample taken. That is much easier. And then the other one is because of the cumbersomeness of TB diagnosis. There is a resistance for coming to be tested for tuberculosis. The disease is stigmatized. You don't want to tell people that you're going for a TB test, and when you're going, you sit all day to have that processed, and then it takes 3 days before you have the answer. That is cumbersome. May be accurate, but it is cumbersome, and that hinders practical and affordable TB surveillance and early detection.
I believe there are some developments on the diagnostics side of things that perhaps may address some of those concerns.
Yes, indeed, Thulasizwe. So we have been working for 32 years to fill that gap for early TB surveillance. We had been coming to learn the molecules that will enable us to do that, and now we have identified a good biomarker for active TB. It is an antibody against the mycolated wax of the TB pathogen, and it works for both humans and for zoonotic TB, and it can pick up that TB signal already within 1 month after infection, we learned. And now we've made a handheld device in which only a single finger prick drop of blood is introduced onto the cassette, and then it rolls over, the plasma part of it rolls over an electrode coated with that waxy antigen, and then within 30 minutes you've got the answer of whether you are free from TB, whether you should go for confirmation of a borderline outcome, or whether you actually have TB. So a 30-minute single 30-minute outcome, and obtained with a single drop of blood in a handheld device, which can be taken out of the laboratory. It can be brought into the point of care where it could work.
So part of the battery of interventions, Prof, on the side of South Africa included a campaign to test 5 million people by 2026 for TB. The target has not been reached, and I confirmed this a couple of days ago speaking to our national TB response chief at the National Department. That has been missed, not by much. I think, they made a good push for it, but missed nonetheless. And part of the story has to do with the paradox of men being mostly affected by the disease, but least likely to test. Talk to me about those dynamics, the social dynamics of testing, and the reasons why we're not getting the momentum that the department would have hoped for in achieving that goal of testing 5 million people.
Yeah, I read this with shock only yesterday, that men are so resistant to come to be tested.
Oh, man.
That was a big surprise to me as well. But I think it has to do with stigma and with the cumbersomeness. And if I measure it at myself being male, I can imagine that I would be hesitant to go and to announce to people, excuse me, but I'm now going for a tuberculosis test. But in a TB surveillance environment, of course, then the clinic or the government comes out to the hotspots, and they simply do a campaign over the whole community because it is a hotspot, and then everyone is just strongly recommended to come for testing. So there is no difference between male and female. Very simply a campaign, and you have to be part of it. And in order to look after the general health of that particular community. So I think that can be properly authorized, and then it can be done. It can be done like that. But you do need a practical and affordable TB surveillance device, and that is what we have now invented. We are happy with it now after 32 years that it did meet the targets of the World Health Organization product targets for a screening device, early screening device, and we are now ready to productize it. It is not ready for rollout, of course. It must still be fully, it must get government approvals first, and first for research purposes that will enable the clinical trials, and after that it needs to be upscaled, and that will bring the price down significantly. And then it may take up to around, I think reasonable to say 4 years before that device can be put into the market to benefit the people who need it.
All right, let's leave it there for this morning. Thank you for sharing your insights with us. That's Professor Jan Verskoor, who is the Chief Scientific Advisor at Marty TB Diagnostics and an Emeritus Professor in the Department of Biochemistry, Genetics and Microbiology at the University of Pretoria.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
I think
still very slow in the top end of Still very slow in the top end of Pretoria, the N4 Bakwena Highway onto the N1 down towards Montana. It's the overnight roadworks that have lingered there this morning and caused a lot of heartache for a lot of motorists. Got caught in the back of that and no way out until they've got down through that Montana exit. So still trying to avoid it. The N1 going south further down, stationary vehicle near Rigel. So there's a bit of a backlog just happening there, and there's a bit of a congestion, post sort of peak time congestion just between Samran and Olifants through Midrand. So not as bad as it can be. Traffic lights still a problem. Grayston Drive at the Mike 1, there's all sorts of pressure there, particularly getting off the Mike 1 both directions. Crash on the R24 out towards the airport. So it's the N12 R24 before you get to the airport split. So the run through Galulis off the N3 North is really heavily backed up, getting into Galulis and then for a turn onto that N12 eastbound carriageway. Crash at the Crown on the Mike 1 North near Smith Street, still very slow coming up from Gold Reef City, and the M2 eastbound or westbound from Joe Slovo coming into the Crown remains heavy as well. Durban's N2 northbound has been a real problem this morning. We've had a crash before Spaghetti Junction, which has taken a while to clear, but there's now a couple of breakdowns in that area. So before you get to Spaghetti Junction, breakdowns, and then you've got the roadwork delays extending almost up to the Umgene Road exit. Cliffdale Key Ridge looks fine, no trouble there. Cape Town, the fatal crash scene on the road in and out of Stellenbosch, R304 near Bottler Ray, that is cleared. The traffic backlog is now starting to move through and normalise. And the N1 inbound to Cape Town still slow from Plattercliff Hill, and a crash on the N7 before Bosmansdam Road, causing a backlog as far as Plattercliff Road. Rob Byrne, SAFM Traffic.
Hey, there's something new happening on SABC2. Fresh stories, bold moves. It's just a whole new vibe, man. And I am part of that vibe in Pinville. I am Shameni Mdinda. Catch me on Monday to Friday at 9 o'clock. Live in every beat. The pulse of SA.
Entlek Let's Connect is coming to you from the Montreux Jazz Festival in Franschhoek. The first time this iconic festival takes place on African soil. Join Penny Lebiane and friend Rico for exclusive interviews, behind-the-scenes access, and the festival experience. Watch Friday, the 27th of March at 4:30 p.m. on SABC2. Entlek Let's Connect. Be part of the moment. SABC2, you belong.
Call Thulasizwe now, 086 000 2032.
All right, let me come to these messages that have come through. Someone, Mpumelelo at Tonga in Nkomazi Municipality says, I think our society needs civic education on the role of legal professionals. Although not backed with facts, people see you as their enemy for providing services. If our constitution provides a right to legal representation, there is no need for violence against them. And that comes from Mpumelelo in Tonga, in Nkomazi in Mpumalanga. Then someone else, I want to save this one from Gwaduguza for last. Someone else on the Madlanga Commission and the arrests that have been effected within the SAPS says, given that some action has been taken against 16 suspects, including Ket Matlala and the National Commissioner involved in the 360 million rand tender, may you please find out from the relevant officials, if and when will similar action be taken against high-ranking police officers, Sibia, Senona, Majeng, Sintumule, Shibiri, Nkosi from SAPS, and 9 officials from Ekurhuleni and those of late from Tshwane, who were all implicated and or fingered in the Madlanga Commission and reported to have been suspended from duty by these institutions. So I think this person is talking about action over and above the disciplinary action that seems to have been taken. The one I was saving for last, from Anonymous in Gwaduguza. It makes an important point and then gives it a twist. Says, South Africa is a movie. Top cop charged with 16 top managers in court for corruption. General Khumalo said 9% of SAPS officers are corrupt. I agree. Then this is the interesting bit. President, a bribe for Madlanga Commission for excellent work. A bribe, oh. Didn't think about that as a way of reward. So, Anonymous in Gwaduguza says, Madlanga and others a braai for you, a national braai, and says results being seen before final report is handed in. That's from Anonymous in Guaduguza. Let me take a few of your voice notes.
Good morning to us and SA listeners. To us, I wish you could ask Sandral guy. I travel a lot now. From Bloemfontein to Cape Town, there's only one toll gate. And then from Joburg to Limpopo, there's more than, I think it's 6 toll gates, and they're charging too much motorists there. But from Bloemfontein, it's almost 1,100 kilometers. But there's only one toll gate after the tunnel there. And from Joburg to Limpopo, it's like how many kilos? It's like 500 kilos. But there's more toll gate that you end up paying more than, now you're going to pay more than 1,000 soon. Sure. I don't understand that.
Yeah, it's a good thing you've raised that issue before we speak to someone from Sanral, because the person we were talking to was not from Sanral, but actually someone who's concerned about this policy change that Sanral is proposing. I don't seem to recall. Look, I only did the drive once, Joburg to Cape Town, only once, and I said, I'm sharp and grand. I don't recall how many toll gates are there. So if you're saying it's one between Bloemfontein and Cape Town, only one. Are you sure? Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, but the spread of these toll gates is something that I've also observed, that, you have certain routes where you'll have toll gate after toll gate, and then you have routes where you'll have one toll gate and drive a good 200 kilometers before you encounter the next one.
Good morning, Thulasizwe. Good show as always. The only logic that the president then can come with is to appoint Major General Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi as the national.
I think I played that message earlier on. If you don't mind, I'm going to stop. I think I did play that one. Let me play this one.
Hey, Tulas, I just want to clarify that tenders take too long to award, and when you apply, your tax certificate is in order most of the time, but when they award, you find that it has expired. So they are therefore allowed to give you a chance to go get a latest tax certificate, because it's understood that it's not your fault that the tender took too long and then your letter expired while officials were working. But the other shenanigans, then I don't know.
Yeah, no, that makes a sense. Thank you. That makes sense. It makes sense. Thank you. Of course, as you say, the other shenanigans, when it's done for the right reasons, to say this is the bidder we were going to appoint anyway, but because of the time it has taken, the lag between the tender documents being submitted and the evaluation and whatever adjudication processes, means that the letter they submitted has expired, makes sense that you can then be asked to. But as you and I know, there are instances where it's not purely about that. Thank you for listening, and thank you for your engagement. The Talking Point with Kathy Motlatlana is up next here on SAFM. I'm Thulasizwe Simelane, and you've been briefed.
I owe myself in